Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, hello. Um, we'll wait for everybody to come in. Okay, all right. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Driving E-commerce Sales Through Conversation webinar. Thank you so much for giving us your Wednesday afternoon, and we promise to make it worth your while. Today, we're going to be inviting you guys to get conversational and invite you guys to think about how to level up your e-commerce game by tapping into the power of forming customer relationships through, as mentioned in the title, conversation. And of course, it's a joint webinar, a partnership of My Alice and Skyrocket Studios. You'll be finding out more about them as we go along. But before that, of course, we have a roster of powerhouse speakers that are here to share their knowledge with everyone. Just some reminders, since there are going to be a lot of insights flying around and a lot of information that you're going to want to note down. Reminders is, one, have your notebook and pen with you, or if you prefer to take digital notes, I would recommend you have a second screen or something to take notes, because when you take notes, you will have questions, and there will be a Q&A after every single speaker session for every individual speaker. So we won't be having a panel discussion. We will instead be dedicating the Q&A time for each speaker. So make sure to have questions for those. Aside from this, we are going to be in this for the long haul. So feel free to drop in and out if you like. And of course, there are live links on Facebook, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Feel free to Instagram us though if you like. Since we are available on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, you can give your links. This is an open webinar. You can give your links to anybody at your office, anybody you know in your life, an e-commerce owner, e-commerce store owner, etc. Give this link to them and let them watch. They can drop in at any time and ask questions, of course, at any time. We'll just be answering them at the end of every speaker. Finally, as I mentioned, long haul, so please be comfortable. Since our cameras are all off, well, your cameras are all off, it's totally fine if you're taking this in your pajamas. Snack all you want, grab your comfort animal. The important thing is that you put yourself in a comfortable enough atmosphere for learning. Now, I could say more, but before we do that, I'd like to invite the CEO of Skyrocket to formally open the session. Pat is a seasoned technology executive and entrepreneur with a focus on strategy, operational excellence, and of course, people. I should know. I'm one of his people. He's got a strong combination of this idea of corporate structure with the speed and agility of startup. Most recently, he built Malaysia's CIMB Bank, which is actually the 5th largest bank in the ASEAN, in the Philippines. He brought it here as the first person on the ground. He also held the posts of Chief Marketing Officer, Head of Business Development and Partnerships, and Head of Customer Experience. He also led the partnerships and marketing that ultimately had CIMB-PH becoming the fastest growing bank in the ASEAN and the winner of 4 prestigious global banking awards. All of this is happening, Pat, because he loves to do a lot of things, also founded Pylon Partners, which is a holding and management company with multiple interests in e-commerce, professional services, and food and beverage. He himself is also an e-commerce entrepreneur, as he has founded Bev Tools, a e-commerce organization, that e-commerce store actually, where you can buy your favorite accessories for drinks making. He also built Asia's Best Bar, ABV, and he is also Asia's Best Bartender on TikTok. He might kill me for mentioning that, but you can follow him if you like. And he's also, of course, my boss, the CEO of Skyrock. Give it up for Pat Cortero. Hey, Pat.
Hi, guys. Well, Frankie, that was a very long introduction. Thank you very much. Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody on the different streams on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. I think out of all of that Frankie was saying, I think the more interesting thing that she probably didn't say is that I'm a former yo-yo world champion. That's probably the more interesting thing about me. Just so you know who you're talking to here. So ultimately, it's super excited to have you guys here. I'm excited for the session today. It might be a bit long, but don't worry. There's a lot of really amazing speakers. I'm looking forward to hearing them speak as well. Really looking forward to what you guys think. There will be kind of Q&As after every session, as well as a feedback form later on. I guess let me put it this way. So I, as CEO of Skyrocket Studios, we do work with a lot of clients. Some of them are e-commerce clients, and we've helped them grow. And ultimately, what we've seen is that growth isn't just growth for the sake of growing. You need to be able to couple all of your operations with it. The one thing that we've seen as our e-commerce clients have grown is essentially more customer experience issues. One of those customer experience issues, of course, let's talk about some of them. Could be returns, could be questions about your products, whatever it might be. And this is all done through multiple channels. As kind of like a very consultative approach that we take at Skyrocket. One of those things is, can we find a tool to really help us help our clients, serve their customers really well. So after looking around for a while, we found, and finally you found this amazing tool called My Alice. Again, we'll talk more about that a little bit later. And that is something that we do recommend to our clients now, and it's really helped them kind of aggregate all of the different customer touch points and really enhance customer experience. There's a lot more to it than that. I'm kind of really oversimplifying it. But enough about me, enough about what's My Alice. I'd love to hear from the speakers. So with that said, let me pass this back over to Frankie. Once again, thank you so much for being here today, guys, and I hope you enjoy the first ever Skyrocket sessions. Take care. Thank you. Hey, Frankie, I think you're muted right now. Take a look, please.
Oh my goodness.
Technology.
If
There you go. Thanks, guys.
If that is not the sort of if that is not the big thing that technology is all about, you're on mute, then I don't know what is. Anyway, as I was saying, I won't keep yammering on for very, very long. But if you guys are interested in finding out about My Alice and Skyrocket, you can, of course, check out the links that are here on the screen. They're QR, so they're fantastic. There's also a pinned bit.ly in the Facebook Live, so you can check out the pinned comment there. And of course, there will be an email that you can get in touch with us on. It will be kind of flashing on the screen throughout, so wait for it to show up. Now, I am very, very excited to turn you guys over to our extremely distinguished guest. I'm excited to hear from him, and I'm sure he's no stranger to all of you. He's born and raised in Manila. Jonathan is a multi-awarded marketer and HR professional with over 15 years of experience in Southeast Asia. He was dubbed, in fact, as Asia's millennial guru, and he's, of course, one of Asia's leading motivational speakers on topics involving leadership, talent development, particularly with Gen Y workers, and, of course, office productivity. I know I follow him on social. I find him extremely insightful. If you don't, you are missing out. However, you might know him best as the proud Filipino winner of the hit Asian reality TV show, The Apprentice Asia. For winning the show, he actually served for 1 year as chief of staff of Air Asia, reporting directly to Malaysian business mogul Tony Fernandez, and he spent that time based in Kuala Lumpur. Of course, he has very much since expanded his learnings from that period to build an empire of his own, and we want to find out more about what he has to say. So I will turn the floor over to Jonathan. Take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Frankie, for having me. And good afternoon to all our viewers this session. Before I start, I'd like to energize everyone in the chat box. So I'd like to ask you to please give me an exclamation mark if you are hearing me loud and clear. Will be great to see that from our participants. I'm trying to look at the chat box right now. We are live streaming across multiple platforms as of the moment. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, and also LinkedIn. Also, if you happen to be hearing me loud and clear, could you also please type which part of the world or which part of the country in the Philippines are you typing from? I'm streaming from Taguig right now, so I would love to see your participants typing that in, just so I get to see your locations, even if I don't get to see you eye to eye or face to face. Okay. So this is my presentation. Today, I'll be the first speaker who will be handling on the trends in engaging today's online buyers. To become successful in your business, you have to be good in engaging and understanding the profile of your customers. That is Business 101. And this is something that we cannot take as a negotiable. This is a non-negotiable part of business. So we'll be giving you some tips on how to do that. Before I proceed, so this is my humble beginnings. I joined a reality TV show a few years back called The Apprentice. And it's a TV series that was created by the same guy who invented Survivor. That's Mr. Mark Burnett. The idea of The Apprentice is you have to undergo negotiation, marketing, and sales tasks. If you lose the episode, you get to be brought back in the boardroom and you are at risk of getting fired. And that same pattern happens episode per episode until only one person gets left behind. Yours truly won the show a few years back, and today I manage my own marketing consultancy firm. That is the JY Consultancy and Ventures. We specialize in helping organizations propel their employees to success. So, whether it be about public speaking, business writing, digital marketing, motivation, and leadership, we help employees together with their managers and their management teams be in their best shape. We've done our sessions not only in Southeast Asia, but in many parts of the world. We've proudly done our workshops. These days, we do that online in countries like in Argentina and as far as New York in United States. So I'll be asking a few things, just a quick house rules for today's session. Number one, please keep the chat box as noisy as you can. Remember, I'm only as good as the energy you give back to me. We're not doing a face-to-face session. This is a live virtual interaction. So my energy is going to be dependent on what I see also in the chat box. Number two, from time to time, I'll be asking some questions. Please type that also, letter A, letter B, or letter C, or whatever options I ask from you. And then finally, at the end, we'll make some time for also Q&A. So let's get to business. Let's start with a warm-up question. Nothing to do with digital marketing, but I'd like to get to know more our participants. Could you please type, how do you feel these days? Letter A, no change versus pre-COVID-19. Letter B, anxious and worried. Letter C, challenged but taking it one day at a time. Or letter D, optimistic that I will get through. I think this is something very resounding because if I get it right, our viewers are going to be from the business world. Either you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or perhaps an employee who's about to transition and graduate into entrepreneurship world. So I'd like to see your answers. If I were to answer this question, I would say I'm a mix of a lot of these letters. I could be letter B. Sometimes I will feel anxious and worried, and that's very normal. But I can also be letter C. I see it as a challenge because pain is a function of time, right? I see some participants typing letter C. I see some typing letter D. That's good. If your answer is letter D, that is the ideal situation that despite the negativity of what's happening brought by the pandemic, you see a level of optimism that you will be able to get through. So very good. Why am I asking this question? I'm asking it because in times of challenges, in times of changes, right? We can categorize our reactions into two types. We can act like we are a thermometer, or we can act like we are a thermostat. And we know the difference between the two. All thermostats have a thermometer. Not all thermometers have a thermostat. A thermometer, when the temperature changes, it will just tell you what happened. From 24 degrees, it became 22 or 31 degrees. It's going to react. That's the only thing that it does. A thermostat, on the other hand, as you may know, does not only react. It controls, it adjusts, it steers the wheel. It tries to be responsive to the situation, right? And I think there's a very good metaphor for how we should react in times of challenges in life or in business. Do you act like a thermometer or do you act like a thermostat? I hope you choose to become the latter when competition gets tougher because it's now easier to build a business thanks to technology. Can you imagine 30 or 50 years ago, in order for you to sell clothing, gadgets, or whatever it is, you have to set up a brick and mortar store, or you have to find a location on the street. These days, you can simply set it up on a website, on your Facebook store, for example. And therefore, there is a lot of room for us to be able to compete against each other. We choose to become the thermostat. We adjust, we take control of the situation as well, right? So can I get an exclamation mark before we proceed? I just want to see how the energy is doing so far. If we are grounding ourselves and realizing how the name of the game is about adjusting. The name of the game is about controlling, taking advantage of what's available for you and maximizing what you can do for your business. Having said that, let's first start. John, what do we know today about the digital landscape? And what can I do about it? So a few things that we'd like to consider before we go for the tips. So number one, so I'm looking at one of the most popular decks that you can check online. So this is by We Are Social. I won't be surprised if our other speakers will also have the same reference because arguably they're the only reference available today. As of January 2021, when you look at the top websites in the Philippines, according to Alexa, we have, for example, top 5, Google, YouTube, ABS-CBN, Inquirer, and also Facebook. This itself is a summary of how Filipinos behave online, right? I won't be surprised if it's also similar to our Southeast Asian counterparts in ASEAN region. So when you look at this top five, we know that the top three reasons for Filipinos for using the internet apart from socializing with friends and loved ones are the following. Number one, they are up for looking for information. Number two, they want to be entertained. So videos, uh, either TV series, documentaries, or even clips that you can find on TikTok. And number three, of course, which is going to be the crux of our conversation for today, that's going to be shopping. And I want to highlight this because we're very lucky. We live in a part of the world where shopping online has become a mainstream and not something that is of a luxury. It has been so democratically for everyone. Literally, you can sell anything online. What we also know is that e-commerce has been doing so well in the past years. Even when the pandemic happened, a lot of stores got online in order for them to keep track of their customers who don't want to transact face to face or via cash. So for example, when you look at the e-commerce spending according to US of billions of dollars, 3 billion is for travel and accommodation. Fashion and beauty comes next, and then you have your electronics and physical media, and then you have your food and personal care. You've noticed that the pandemic has ushered an era that people now are comfortable doing their groceries online rather than using it as a leisure activity on weekends. And then followed by other things, you have furniture, appliances, toys, digital music, and finally video games. So again, I want to highlight it is available for everyone. The opportunity is just easily there for you to grab. What do we know about how an online buyer today starts their journey from discovery into purchase? So, there's a typical pattern that's applicable across all industries. Number one, so part one is discovery. And discovery starts with either being exposed to what your friends and loved ones or colleagues at work are using. So it's when you start realizing, can I? What is that smell that I am sensing? What perfume is that? Or hey, I like your bag. Where did you buy it? So these are typical experiences that we often see from our friends and loved ones. Or discovery also happens because you're following your favorite Instagram or TikTok influencer and you kind of like their shoes. You kind of like the restaurant where they're eating at. So discovery usually starts online as well. And then finally, number two, you have researching and shortlisting. So researching is when the moment you got interested about a product, you start digging deeper about the information. So what's the price? If it's a clothing, are there available sizes for me? If it's a shoe, is there an available color that I like? So you look for reviews, you look for trends. Do you notice that it's very challenging these days to purchase an item out of a whim? We usually don't anymore do it by impulse. We do it apart from trying to be excited. We also look at the reviews. How many people have liked it? How many people have purchased it? And what are people saying about it? That's becoming a non-negotiable part of our buying experience. So we also ask questions from our communities. And then we start shortlisting. If it's a pair of shoes, we're not just satisfied with the photo. We want an immersive walkthrough experience of it. We want videos. That's where TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube comes into the picture, right? So if in the past, in the 1980s and 1990s, if you want to travel to Palawan or to Boracay, it's easy to see that in magazines or newspapers or on television. These days, if you're going to look for a hotel, and if you're planning to do that, let's say this coming holidays this December, you're not going to be satisfied with just static media. You want a full-on blow-by-blow account the moment they open the door of the hotel room, down to the food that they're eating, down to the curtains and the kinds of soap or shampoo that they provide in the hotel. The immersive experience is very important for customers, and this is a reason of whether they would want to purchase or not. Finally, number three, the moment they realize that, okay, this is a good candidate for purchase, they graduate into decision making and purchasing. So that's when they start asking more questions. Okay, it seems like I'm 90%, 80% willing to buy. How do I pay? Is there any refund available? Right? Can I pay this via credit card, GCash, Paymaya, etc.? Or can I ask if there's an available size for my sister because she is small, I am medium, etc.? Right? So you will notice that people are more serious buyers once they become more in depth with their questions as well, because they're not here to waste time, they mean business. And finally, that's when they start checking out. So upon accomplishing all of this in the checklist, the confidence is there, the person has the willingness to buy and the budget to purchase, then your official store steps in. So either you check out from either a website, or let's say these days, one of the more popular ways to buy an item easily is directly within the chat box of your Facebook Messenger from the company's Facebook page or Facebook group. So time to add to cart and check out. Can I get an exclamation mark from our participants? Can I just see if we're all on the same page? Is this the same journey that you guys are experiencing? I'm sure likely, the possibility of this happening is very high. It may have some differences, such as you go straight into researching, right? Or you discover it later on, but likely you will never buy an item without proper due diligence. I'm going to call out, for example, a lot of millennials out there. The typical behavior of a millennial is that we first do our homework and assignment. We will never buy an item unless we get the approval from some of our friends, from some of the strangers who give reviews about a product or item. Right? What we also know is that customers' behaviors have significantly changed since the pandemic started. What's really interesting is that the pandemic has revolutionized how people's expectations about businesses. So, for example, number one, they are now more demanding in terms of the speed. So a typical customer, so they will say something like, I wish that the response about my question is immediate in the next 30 minutes or in the next 1 hour. This wasn't like this prior to the pandemic. It was a bit already, but do you notice that people have become more competitive trying to get each other's attention? And that's because everyone's getting served, right? And I will say this across industries, regardless if you're selling food, shoes, insurance, real estate, whatever it is, speed is of the essence. Because the moment the customer notices that you're not responding quickly, what do? I'm sure you have an idea. They start looking for someone else who will rather respond to them in the quickest way possible, right? So customers are not only, you can use the word impatient, but you can rather use the word demanding or excited at the same time. Number two, they're also after quality of information. So the tendency of a customer is to ask information such as, do you have a comparison chart of the sizes? Do you have a comparison chart if there are packages that offer discounts? I'd like to see them in one view. And that's because customers are becoming smarter. They're always after the best value. In Tagalog, we call that as sulit. The ability to get the most out of the product, and yet you're paying assumingly lesser than the value that what you are getting, right? So sana complete yung information kapag pinapadalan mo ako ng comparison chart, for example, in my email or in my Facebook page. Third, we notice that a lot of customers now are getting more accustomed into 100% paperless transactions. Prior to COVID-19, it was easy to expect I have to fill out a form. I have to go to the bank. To deposit money, I have to fill in a form. In order for me to fill out, let's say, buy a property or an insurance policy, I have to fill out a form. These days, most customers today expect that I don't need to do anything via paper because I don't want to meet up with anyone. Plus the fact that we know that that's going to eat up on your transportation and also your time. So what do? Everything must be online. You need my name, my information. You need photos of my passport. You need photos of my ID. I can all upload that into a website or send that via Facebook chat or any messenger. Okay? The fourth one is that customers now expect more immediate delivery. This is something that the Philippines and a lot of Asian countries have been catching up. If you notice, in other countries like in United States, Amazon has been doing so well in same-day delivery, wherein you buy it at 9 o'clock in the morning, you'll get it in 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that impulsive buying behavior makes customers sticky and loyal to the company. We're going to expect the same thing for our buyers also in the Philippines and many parts of Asia. Today, there are still a lot of gaps to work on. So for example, you will notice the standard delivery time is 2 to 3 days. You will still not complain if you only get it 4 or 5 days. You will only feel that it's too long on the 7th day. But I won't be surprised that in the future, more customers are going to be asking for same-day delivery or next-day delivery as well. So if you notice, customers' behavior have significantly changed since the pandemic started. Since we're talking about a thermostat versus a thermometer, and we're all thermostats, our goal as sellers is to respond, to adjust, to become the chameleon that can be more responsive to what the customers are looking for, right? Lastly, I want you guys to recall, and this is very important because when you're trying to identify where you fall into in your promotions online, we have what we call as the hierarchy of digital selling. So if you look at my pyramid, at the bottom of it is something that's expected to allow our promotions. The higher I go up, the more it becomes rare, but that is because that is your ultimate goal. So at the bottom of the pyramid is what we call as an impression. Every time you post something on social media, or on email or a website, the idea is that our goal is that more people get to see that post or that content. So an impression is a technical term that refers to the audience saw your post. Did they buy something? Did they download an app? Did they register to your membership? Perhaps not yet. But you're already there. You have your one foot onto the door. The second level is what we call as engagement. So not only did the person look at the content, they did something about it. They liked the post. They commented on the post. They retweeted the post. That's an indication that your content was interesting enough because they took the extra effort. They took extra 5 seconds, 1 minute to type something in the chat box because they either got provoked positively or negatively about your content. We want engagement because that means that your content is making some impact to your audiences. Third is what we call as a lead. A lead is when a customer is not only interested about the content, they're interested about the objective of the content, and that is for you to make a sale. So in lead, for example, the audience visited the website, they downloaded an app, they subscribed to an email newsletter. Question: did they purchase your product? Perhaps not yet. But you have a very strong indication that they are almost there. You've already captured their attention. Not everyone is going to download an app for the sake of doing it. They will download an app because they know that there is something worth about it. Not everyone is going to subscribe to a newsletter that's going to spam your inbox. But if you clicked on subscribe, it means that you really liked what you saw. So you're almost there in engaging the customer to buy your product. And then the fourth one is what we call as eventually. That's what we want to happen. It's a sale. The person finally purchased the item, checked out from their cart. They agreed on the terms. They signed a contract. They submitted the requirements and they paid. Ultimately, in any hierarchy of promotions online, what you want is your customer is to graduate into the sale part. And finally, we don't just want them to be static on selling and buying. We want them to graduate into what we call as loyalty. The audience is confirmed as an ambassador because they do repeat purchase. The audience is so in love with your product that they are referring you to their friends and loved ones, right? If you We do a lot of sessions for other industries, so pharma industry, insurance industry, food and beverage industry, and the kinds of customers we want are people who said, "Hey John, I was referred to you by your other client because she said that your products are so good. Can I have a look at it? Can I have a taste of it?" For example. So loyal customers do not only repeat purchase, they also multiply your selling opportunities. In technical terms, we call this as your conversion. So from merely looking at your content, the person gets interested, engaged, excited, they did an act on it, and finally, they purchased it. Our ultimate goal is that every time a customer sends an inquiry on Facebook Messenger asking questions like, how much? Or asking questions such as, hey, I like this. Can I also pay via GCash? Or questions such as, hey, do you also have this in size XL, for example? It shouldn't stop there. That's only engagement. That's only lead. Your ultimate goal is, what do I do to close the loop to make that immediate sale and convert this person from an inquiry into a sale? So if you happen to be a business owner or an entrepreneur and you happen to have 5 customer reps, you have to change their mindset. Their mindset is not only to answer the question or provide information. Their mindset should be, I need to close the sale. Can I get an exclamation mark? Is that clear? It sounds very simple, but that mindset is going to be pivotal if you have a team who does the customer service for you. So the customer portal, the chat box, should not be seen as a complaint portal. The chat box should not be seen as an inquiry portal. The chat box should be seen as a selling portal on its own. I should not be graduating anymore this conversation to an email. I should not be making a phone call anymore as much as possible. If I can make the sale immediately in this chat box, better, right? That's what we want to happen at the end of the day. So, having said that, let's now advance. John, can you give me some quick tips on how can I engage customers online? So, here's tip number 1. Personalize your engagement. While in 2021, it's very typical to see a lot of Facebook groups or Facebook pages that are selling items with automated and algorithm driven chats. And I know these are very efficient for business. Please remember that they are not always favorable for the customer. So before I explain this, can I please ask you to answer in the chat box this question? I think that automating responses in my Facebook store is a non-negotiable feature. Could you please type letter A, yes, letter B, no. So no judgment here. Whatever your answer is, it depends on your experience and your universe. Of course, in my case, I would say it is a non-negotiable feature because you can't be open, you can't be online 24/7. But depending on your experience, I want you to consider that having an automated regime is just half the battle. And neither should you be 100% dependent on automated responses. If it's your first time to hear about automated responses, let me just give a quick background about it. Automated responses is simply a system wherein a chatbot or an auto-generated reply after a few keywords or buttons are pressed by the customer. It does save significant time to automate your responses. For example, if you're familiar with here's a screenshot of Facebook page. Let's say I'm selling bags or shoes. When I look at my inbox and I own a Facebook page, there is a button that says automated responses, right? So some of you may be familiar with this because you already have one. For those who don't have it yet, this is a typical free feature that you get on Facebook page. So when you click automated responses, you have the following items. You have your away message, you have your instant reply, and you also have your frequently asked questions, which means even if someone sends you a message at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're not there because you're asleep, if the customer wants to get an immediate response, there is an automatic response. So at least they have partial information provided to them and they get engaged. And I'm going to tell this, there are a lot of customers who only become busy buying items at 11 p.m. when they're about to sleep. There are a lot of bored customers who couldn't sleep at night. And so they check these things out at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning or as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. So you want to be available for them even if you happen to be not online. So they're automated and that's good. However, so by the way, if just to give an example of how it looks like, so if I have my instant reply, if someone sends me a message, this is a screenshot for my own Facebook page. If someone sends me an inquiry about, Jonathan, how do we invite you for a motivational talk? If I happen to be not available at that time, I will release through the automated response this box. Hi, to watch our free webinars. Here's my up. Why do business owners use automated replies? Why is it good to have one? Well, number one, we want to standardize what information to provide to customers. Sometimes not all of your customer reps are on the same quality of expertise. Some are very good, some are still starting out. So automated replies are good so that regardless of what they know and what they do not know, they are properly guided on what to present to the customer, right? Do I give this price list? Do I give this photo? Do I give this infographic? Do I send out this PDF file via a bit.ly link that is saved on Google Drive, for example? Number two, Automated replies are good if you think that your customer reps are not confident with their communication skills. This is very important when, let's say, the customer is speaking in a vernacular or in English and they happen to be not fluent in it. It gives them a sense of confidence that my sentences are grammatically written in a way that gives you good reputation and a professional means. Right? Number three, we use automated responses because we want to standardize the tone of how your customer reps reply. Some customers are not caring enough. Some customers may not be warm enough. And a lot of customers expect a lot of politeness from customer reps. So you put automated replies so that you standardize how they respond, right? You want to portray the right culture of how your company communicates. So don't get me wrong, automated replies are very important parts of businesses. For me, they are non-negotiable, and I cannot count the number of opportunities that I was able to close a sale because an automated reply was the initial talking point between my company and that customer. Question, however, but do customers all the time like automated responses and chatbots, right? So, is this something that they would always engage with? And the answer is, of course, not all the time. I'm sure a lot of our entrepreneurs have experienced this firsthand. So, I want to give an example. This is a study conducted in the United States by a company called UserLike. And when they asked the question, if you've chatted with a chatbot, what were some negative aspects? And the answers were not surprising, but they are very validating. For example, almost 60% of the respondents said, number one, the chatbot was unable to solve my issue because I needed to speak to a person. Another one, about 45% said the chatbot did not know how to solve my issue, perhaps because it was a complicated question that did not have an automated response for. Or number three, the chatbot could not understand me. And that is also expected because not all people who ask questions ask the right questions. They have the right intentions, but they couldn't communicate it properly. So sometimes you need human intervention for you to understand that. For that reason, we need to be responsive. Again, thermostat versus thermometer. We need to be the thermostat here. We need to be responsive if we happen to have customers who fall under this category, right? So balance matters. You have your automated regime, but you need to also have personalized responses, meaning real people responding to what the customers want. In psychology, we call this as the Goldilocks Rule. If you're familiar with the Goldilocks fairy tale, he went to the house of the bears. One of the bed was too hard, the other bed was too soft. She ended up sleeping in the bed that was just the right amount of softness. So balance matters. And that's why it's called the Goldilocks Rule. The same thing also happens for businesses. Just the right amount of automated responses that allows smooth transition between the computer and a real sales agent when the situation calls for it. So, for example, if a customer asks a question at 6 o'clock in the morning, an automated response is released to give him preliminary information. But if the customer happens to want more detailed info, there should be a sales agent who should be there responding to more complicated answer. That is the ideal situation that most entrepreneurs must put in place into their online stores, right? Can I get another exclamation mark? Are we embracing that part? So I want to highlight this. You cannot operate a business well if your business is running on 100% automated replies. Neither will you succeed if you're not using any automated replies. I want to highlight that. If you have 50 or 100 customers in a day, and that's not even a lot, and imagine you're responding to them one by one, instead of managing your business by looking at inventory, getting people to promote it, you're spending too much time on admin stuff, meaning cutting and pasting links, responding by giving the prices. If it's repetitive, you ought to automate it also. So balance is needed for both. Tip number 2, be obsessed with speed. Have a mindset, and I kept on mentioning this a while ago, of closing the sale immediately. What do you think is the primary reason of businesses for responding slowly to customers? So, can I please ask the participants if you can respond? Type your answer in the chat box. Letter A, is it because the customer rep is not always online? Letter B, there is no accessible information to present. Meaning, for example, there is no available infographic, comparison chart, or brochure. So you have to create one first before you send it to the customer. Letter C, is it because the concern can only be addressed in a different platform? For example, the customer's asking for an invoice or an OR. So you have to wait for a bit because you have to go to your Excel, you have to go to your mobile software or another platform to create that invoice. You have to send it on email. And so it drags the entire process because you couldn't do that in the same place, right? Or letter D, the concern of the customer is so complex. It first needs clearance from the business owner, right? So could you please type? I'm going to wait for the participants. Let's see if you guys tell me what do you think is your answer here. So if I were to choose, an answer here, I would say it's a mix of letter B or letter C. It's usually because the customer does not know how to answer it properly, or is it because there are things that can only be addressed by going to a different platform instead, right? So I'm also going to add one more thing about the source of brand discovery. Question, John, when we look at the data from We Are Social, we know, for example, that in January, by the way, the data here is January 2021. Where do customers usually discover their brands? And when you look at the top answer here is that 50% the ads are usually on social media. Why is it important to take note? The moment the person sees the ad on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you already go for the kill. That means it's easier for them to sell the product, promote the product, and go to the checkout cart. I want to highlight that that is different when you're rather seeing it on television, right? In the 1990s, when you see a shampoo advertisement, you first look at television, you remember it in your mind, and then you have to wait to go to the grocery before you even buy that item, right? You see a new flavor of French fries from Jollibee. You see that on radio. You wait for a few weeks or you wait until Sunday because that's when your parents are going to bring you to a Jollibee store and then you ask for it. These days, that is no longer the situation. What happens today is I see it on social media. I get impulsive and excited, and I will look for that online store and check out immediately. Can I get an exclamation mark? How things are even way better. Aren't we so lucky that we are living in a world wherein the impulse is immediately paired with the action? You guys, a lot of us need to appreciate that fact because it wasn't the case 10 years or 20 years ago. Since most ads are now seen on social media, selling is more accessible and quicker. That's why speed is one of the most important things when it comes to selling. However, what slows down our engagement with customers? What are the reasons why we are slower to respond? For example, on Facebook chat. Number one, that's because we need to redirect a customer into another website. Sometimes, not all of the tools are available on Facebook. Can I get an exclamation mark if you agree? Facebook is fantastic with a lot of free tools, but not all of the tools are enough for you to respond. So sometimes, for example, you have to send them to another website just so they can see a catalog of the products, right? Or number two, we need to graduate from chat to email because it's more convenient to send files there, right? Sometimes you don't have the right PDF, PowerPoint, or JPEG, or even MP3 or MP4 to send it in the chat box. Or final number four, let's just talk about simply uh, my favorite item to hate as a business owner, and that is the need to release an invoice because usually the devil is in the detail. Invoices need to be created via a spreadsheet or a special invoice generator. So sometimes you have to tell the customer, "Hi, ma'am, we're going to release to you the invoice. Send me your email address and I will send it there." So that lag between you are already on the Facebook Messenger and yet you need to transfer to a different platform, that lag can be very inconvenient and hassling for both the business and the customer as well. Ideally, what can make things faster is if you have a one-stop shop or a dashboard that incorporates all of these things so that you don't need to crash from one place to another, right? When you look at industry average for call duration, so let's go back to 1990s or early 2000. Do you notice that those times the averages were very predictable? So look at the numbers here. For example, it is expected that you should be able to finish ordering food from Jollibee in just 5 minutes. That's the typical time it takes to finish a phone call. It takes 15 minutes to 12 minutes to troubleshoot your internet connection. If, let's say, you're calling PLDT or Globe. Why are predictable averages important? Because that predictability is important for the customer. If I know that this transaction will finish in 15 minutes, I can make time for it. Why is this related to our business? The same predictable average is also important when a customer is inquiring online. If I ask a question about the size, the color, or the payment method, I cannot afford to wait for the next 2 to 3 days. I'm excited. I'm impulsive. I want to buy those new pairs of shoes. If I want a response, I want it now. So I want to ask and diagnose the participants. Let's see how you fall into this category. How long are you willing to wait for someone to respond to your inquiry on Facebook? Could you please type? Letter A, 1 to 2 hours. Letter B, 4 hours. Letter C, about 8 hours. Or letter D, 10 hours or more. By the way, I've curated the options because I think responding more than 24 hours for my standards are non-negotiable. By the 24th hour, the customer has already left and looked for someone else, unless they're not too much in a hurry. So could you please type your answer? A, B, C, or D in this case. So I'm looking at the chat box. We have a diverse set of responses. I'm seeing a lot of letter A from the chat box. My answer here would be I'll be a bit forgiving. I'll give it up until 4 hours. But ideally, it will be great if someone responds to me in the next 1 to 2 hours. Right? Consider also the fact that it's not just an issue of being impulsive or excited. It's also an issue of time. When people need to allot time to check out because they need to pull out their credit card, they need to input that in the information. This is something that you don't do because it's as basic as eating or taking a bath, right? It's something that you can put off maybe tonight or maybe tomorrow. And that's the problem with decision making, right? Decision making is based on past behaviors of the customer. What does science tell us about decision making? Number one, the longer a decision needs to be made, the likely the customer will further delay it. I've already delayed it for 15 minutes, might as well delay it a bit more. Number two, the longer a decision needs to be made, the likely a customer will overthink the situation. If you're letting them think if they should buy it or not for 4 more hours, the likely they will have a space to think about other options in life. I want to buy these pairs of shoes, but perhaps I should rather save it instead for my brother's tuition fee for school. I want to buy this new smartphone, but maybe I should rather buy a laptop, right? So, what we know about decision making is that the longer it takes for you to decide, the likely the transaction will not be made. And number three, the longer a decision needs to be made, the likely the customer will choose other options. If you delay, you're actually giving an opportunity for your competitor to steal away your customer, especially when they're so impatient. It's just a matter of clicks before they go to the Facebook page of your competitor. So, what is the best situation? If the customer is impulsive and ready to buy, you have to go for the kill. You must be available to respond immediately and be able to graduate that from inquiry into a successful purchase. Right? The slower you engage the customer, to summarize, the likely you will lose the sales opportunity. Okay? Can I get another exclamation mark? Are we clear with that? Speed is of the essence in this case. All right. Finally, tip number 3, do the extra mile of customizing your campaigns. Know how you can group your customers according to preferences and personalities. Then offer something unique for each of them. It's easy to say that if you have 1,000 customers, you're looking at them as if they are 1,000 people. But remember that 1,000 is just one big number. 1,000 can be placed into smaller groups because they're not going to be the same personality. They will be composed of different age, right? Gender, or other things. And here's where the joke comes in. So, if you look at Facebook, for example, there are a lot of free analytics, right? And I love this because Facebook gave this for free. So you have, for example, the number of minutes that your customers are looking at your videos, what is their age, their location, etc. I like this information. My only issue is they're not enough for me as a business owner. I wish that there was more information provided to me. So, for example, are you able to know your customers beyond gender, age, and location? Questions such as, ideally, it will also be insightful to know, number one, who are the new versus the returning customers? It will be great to know what were their past consumption habits with your store. Number three, what are the other platforms that they are actively using? Can they also be contacted via Viber? Can they also be contacted via WhatsApp or whatever messenger that is? Or number four, can you push a customer feedback link so that they can immediately share if they were satisfied or there are things to improve on about your service and also your product? These things, unfortunately, are not part of the free tool holistically. So, as a business owner, you might want to find a way to hustle and chase, how can I get this information? Right? It's very similar to the joke that we say, how does one eat an elephant? Can someone tell me in the chat box if you know? FYI and disclaimer, you do not eat an elephant because we just don't eat it, right? But there is a reason, there is a philosophy behind this joke. And the answer to this question is, well, you eat an elephant bit by bit, because the philosophy there is that the elephant is just so big, you cannot eat it as a whole. What is the moral lesson here? For something very complicated and very big to be more digestible, to be more actionable, you have to put it into smaller chunks. We call that as the chunking technique. For example, if you have a very big project that spans for 6 months, don't get too stressed that the project will take 6 months. Look at the project as month one, month two, month three, month four, etc. The more you put it into smaller pieces, the more it's easy to act on them. That's the principle of the chunking technique. The same way also happens for your customers. Do not look at your customers as 1,000 people buying X, Y, and Z. There's also an insightful way to categorize them, such as, for example, who are the customers paying via credit card, cash, or e-wallet? Who are the customers who are first-time buyers or repeat buyers? Who are the customers that are contactable via Viber or WhatsApp or whatever instant messenger there is? Why is it important to know them? Because when you're able to categorize your customers, you're able to act on how you can make them purchase more or purchase again in your store. This again goes back to data driving. The problem is these data are not easily available for business owners. Gender, location, age, yes. In Facebook store, they can be provided. When you set up your own websites, it can be provided. But how that you wish that you can further push that beyond and know more information about your customers. Discovering more subgroups of your customers can enable potential sales. For example, if you found out that 60% of your customers are repeat customers, it means you can give them a special discount for the next purchase. If you found out that 80% of your customers pay via credit card, it means you can now approach the people in MasterCard or people in Visa to do a special promo as well. If you found out that because your special, whatever it is that you do, let's say you were able to collect email addresses, you were able to collect 200 email addresses from your pool of customers, it now means that you have the confidence to execute a weekly newsletter to promote your products via electronic direct mail. So it might be cliche to say this, but knowledge is power. The more you get to know who your customers are, the more you can incite them and engage them to buy. Because it's not just a battle of money, it's a battle of attention, right? When someone gets their Christmas bonus, you're not just competing versus how much money are they willing to place for your product. You're also competing against other competitors who have already promoted their advertisements, their Facebook ads, whatever it is that they have on websites as well. And so if you're not top of mind, even if they have the budget to buy your product, they might not end up being engaged with your products and services, right? Can I get an exclamation mark before we round up this session? Are we learning something about treating customers not just a whole, but also segmenting them into actionable groups, into actionable subcategories in this case? All right. And for that reason, I'm going to end the session and we're going to be spending some time. If you have any questions or queries, I'll be very happy to have them. In the meantime, I'd like to invite you, if you like to catch us online, I'm sharing with you our social media pages on screen. And I'd also like to invite you, if you're interested to catch more about what we do online, we have a podcast that we just recently launched on Spotify. It's called From Grid to Great, and it's about career management and also businesses. So I'll wait for your questions if you do have. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was extremely informative session. And actually, we do have a couple of questions. I made sure to write some of them down from the audience just to get the conversation started, if that's all right. So the first question that we have here is actually, considering the customer journey, when would be a prime stage to engage directly? Is it really just restricted to when you flash a customer journey, that moment of customer service only? So can we get involved, for example, or can a brand start engaging with a customer and start directly relating to them during the research and shortlisting process? And if so, how? That's something that we've gotten some questions about.
Mm-hmm. So there isn't. It's not really cast on stone. Even if discovery is assumed to be the ideal first stage of engaging a customer, it can be in any part. Some customers will just keep on discovering you, but they will never end up buying. So they are entertained by your brand, but they probably don't have the budget to buy it. So they're under discovery, they're under the entertainment, but they will not graduate into the decision and purchasing stage. The same thing also happens for other customers. So some customers have the money, they have the budget, they have the power to do it, but they weren't able to discover you, but you, because you happen to be absent on the portal or platform where they are behaving in, you're gonna miss out on the sale. So one example for that is TikTok. So TikTok has been really doing well for the past 2 years, and it's very quick into catching that attention. You may have the best products online, but if your products are geared, let's say, for the Generation Z, and you happen to be sticking it out only on Instagram or Facebook, but you're absent on TikTok, you might be considering putting your items on that platform because that's where they are tuning in the first place.
That's an excellent point. I think that also kind of funnels into what you mentioned about ads being a good conversion point, because TikTok ads are extremely native. I guess one question somebody else had about that, speaking about ads as a conversion point, is when you talked about being obsessed with speed, how can we engage with the customer in a way that accelerates a transaction? That's something that people are asking. Oh, is there something I have to say that's special? I guess I'm assuming that's what the question was. Like, how would we facilitate interaction to move them quicker to the funnel?
Mm-hmm. So again, Goldilocks rule is important here. Fast enough that you're able to answer their questions well, and fast enough that you're able to ask more questions. Remember, this is not just about answering the question of the customer. Sometimes the customer keeps on asking, what's the price? Where do I get this, etc. But sometimes you realize, wait a minute, before I answer the question, I'd like to know, Mrs. Reyes, may I ask, what are you buying this for? Is there a special occasion that you're trying to buy this for? And asking those questions fast tracks the entire process. So it's for a birthday. Ma'am, we have X, Y, and Z specifically for that. That's another definition of fast tracking things. So do not look at speed as if you're able to reply fast because you were able to type fast. Speed is also being able to skip unnecessary steps because you were able to unearth what the customer really was looking for. Because remember, guys, customers are not people who will say everything about themselves. They have a level of privacy that they want to keep. So sometimes as a customer representative, it is your duty to ask these questions, because if you don't ask them, they will not tell them at all. So in the case of speed, being able to ask the right questions can also fast track and skip the unnecessary conversations.
And speaking of those unnecessary conversations, that would be, as you mentioned, an opportunity for automation, no? Like the unnecessary conversations would be something you can automate. Is that the correct way of understanding it?
That's correct. So
Okay.
I would put two layers here. So there should be a layer of questions that you should not be spending too much time on because they can be answered on their own. So questions such as, where do I buy? Is it payable via credit card or via cash? These things, you're not supposed to be spending 5 minutes of your life typing them manually. And I think it's a given for a lot of customers. If you want to put your energy to where it will matter for business, spend that energy on more complicated questions, such as, hey, I like your product, but I want to get a bulk discount because I plan to get 60 batches of the same product. You don't have that in any of your portal because it's not usually asked. That requires energy, and that's where you're supposed to be spending additional time on.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. That's actually the extent of the question. They're very complex questions, so I tried to actually, when we were going through them, chunk some of them together. So thank you so much for your time and for giving us your energy. And definitely giving us a lot of learnings on how to tackle this behemoth that is, dealing with e-commerce engagement. As you mentioned, it can feel like quite an elephant, but since you mentioned, if it's an elephant, you just have to eat it bit by bit. Guys, make sure to follow Jonathan on his socials. He did flash them on the screen earlier. And if you guys would like, we will make sure to try to send some materials over after this webinar so you guys can keep in touch. You can also search him everywhere. I know I do. And if you're not following his podcast, please do. It is podcasting is the future, and it's a great way to consume information while you're working for efficiency. So, Jonathan, thank you so much. We will now kind of transition to the next phase of our session. And of course, if you still have questions for Jonathan afterwards, you can just email message them to us and we'll find a way to get them to him as well. So next up, we are moving on to another phase. And this one is when we're going to be going a little bit deeper into the conversation about sort of understanding, engagement with consumers. So we talked about the importance of engagement and some important tips regarding engagement. Now we are going to understand more about customer touch points, where exactly those engagements occur. And to lead us through that discussion, I am very, very pleased to welcome for you the former head of key accounts for GCash Mint, the former head of sales, brand, and marketing for Technomarine Enterprises Philippines, the owner of the Refillery Philippines, and of course, a business leader and consultant under JY Consultancy and Ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, please have your questions ready, have your notepads ready, grab a coffee as quick as you can, or grab it literally. I ordered a Starbucks while I was multitasking. Give it up, please, for Farah Rodriguez. Take it away, Farah.
Hey, Frankie. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the Skyrocket team for having me here today. I'm glad to be a part of this conversation. And also, I'm happy to see some friends and entrepreneurs joining from different platforms. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So please feel free to get your family and friends to watch in. All right, before I start, let me quickly introduce myself again. My name is Farah Rodriguez, and I'm a business consultant specializing in business development, in sales, and in marketing. My work experience covers various industries. So I've worked in pharma and healthcare. I've moved in fast-moving consumer goods. I've worked in retail, luxury, fintech, and currently doing consulting for cryptocurrencies. I'm very, very grateful for all my experiences in these industries. And hopefully today I also get to help you grow your online businesses. Okay, so I really enjoyed our session today with Jonathan Yabot, and hopefully I can build on his slides and his decks. And as Frankie mentioned, I will be focusing on aggregating customer touch points. So before we start, can I see the next slide and do a quick poll with our viewers today? I would love to see your comments on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on YouTube. So which of the following touch points or channels do you currently have already for your businesses? So do you have a physical store? Do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook and Messenger, Instagram, Viber? Or letter G, do you have at least 3 of the above? Or H, do you have all of the above and more? So I'd love to hear how many touch points are you currently present in? And later we will get to see how each of these channels complement each other. All right. So very interesting. I'm seeing that, wow, all of the channels. That's good. All of the above. Some are saying letter G, all of at least 3 of the channels mentioned. That's good. All right. Just want to see some more answers. Yes, G. Thank you for your answers, everyone. And you know what I'm seeing right now in most of the businesses that I deal with, and sometimes the businesses that I also order from, is they would have at least 3 of these touch points. And automatically, if you have a Facebook page, it comes with Messenger. So that's easily 2 channels already, right? And most would have, say, a website or a Viber for coordinating some orders, which is typical. So that's easily at least 3 of the channels that we mentioned. So next slide, please. Most would be legacy businesses, or those who have starting from the pre-pandemic. They would have a physical store at the beginning, and then early 2000s, we know that the power of social media just uh, came before us, and we saw how powerful it can be, not just for personal consumption, but also for business. So they started opening Facebook and Instagram accounts. A retail giant in the Philippines, for example, SM, as we know, is a legacy business that started with physical stores or shopping malls. And today now also uses the power of social media and social selling. They're complete with Facebook accounts, Instagram pages, and even Viber communities for each of their malls. So it's really the power of what we say omni-channel, or having combined touch points or channels for reaching your customers. But during the pandemic, we also saw that a lot of the entrepreneurs started online businesses, first as social media Facebook pages or Instagram accounts, and then slowly as they grew, they had to open a physical store or partner with an existing store or a physical store to be an option for customers demanding that they be more accessible. So you may be a home baker, for example, selling empanadas on Instagram during your early first few months. And then over time, as your customers grew and the demand for your products grew, you regularly started participating in bazaars, for example, or had your empanadas listed in a neighborhood coffee shop. So that's a combination of a physical store and social selling, making you omni-channel. So the slide you're seeing is on omni-channel mobile first, which is actually a truth that we have established even before the pandemic. So what we demonstrated earlier is an example of omni-channel, where you are present in different channels and touch points so that your customers can see you more or can encounter you more. We have established this truth, but what do we really mean when we say mobile first? So omnichannel is easy to understand, but what is mobile first? So mobile first naman refers to your business being built or ready to be on cell phone mode, or smartphone mode. Customers are everywhere with their cell phones. Jonathan has amazingly set up the trends earlier, and I'll be building on that by sharing some more slides. Also coming from We Are Social. It's available publicly. You can search for it online. And it's really a good digest. And I highly recommend also that you guys check out the We Are Social annual data. They have updated it for 2021, and I will be sharing some of it in a bit. So let's take, for example, some questions that you see on the deck. If omnichannel mobile first is an established truth already, then how do you prioritize which ones to use? And how do you make sure that you never miss a moment? So if you're omnichannel, there's so much stuff to manage. How do you prioritize? And how do you make sure also that you never miss a moment? There may be commenting, they may be DMing you. So there are different ways to reach you, but it can be overwhelming, especially if it's not properly manned. So we are going to go into that discussion in a bit. All right, so can you see the next slide, please? Just to build on going mobile first, this is, again, data from We Are Social. And we are seeing here that for internet users aged 16 to 64, almost everyone at 98.5% access the internet using a cell phone or a smartphone. So this builds and establishes the omni-channel mobile first truth that almost everyone is using their cell phones to discover you, to shop, to pay, and basically transact and do everything related to your business using their cell phones. The 16 to 64 age segment is the decision maker, no, or the one who will buy or transact with you for most of the products. So there are consumers, and it's good to see that if they are on their cell phones, then you as a business must also be ready to be in a cell phone mode ready business para you're able to catch them and make sure that you are able to not just be discovered but to close the sale. So next slide, please. Apart from device ownership, Jonathan also shared this slide on sources of new brand discovery, and I would like to just really emphasize and build on this. No, as you can see from this chart, apart from ads on television, almost everything else on the list is actually social media related. And all of these things that they do, search on websites, search on Google, vlogs, as primary sources of discovery are being done on a cell phone. So how are you? How is your business in terms of being discovered from a social media and cell phone mode? I think it's a good exercise if you can reflect a bit on how your business is currently. Try Googling your brand name. What is the first thing that appears? Or Google your categories. If you're selling cakes, for example, in Quezon City, try Googling it and just take a look at what appears first. Usually the first 5 slots on Google would be good indicators for being discovered, or at least landing on the first page is a good indicator that you are doing well, or you are being discovered by your customers. All of the other items on the list are, again, mobile first arguments that really need you to be ready for doing business with customers mobile first. So next slide, please. Another thing that was interesting for me and this We Are Social deck for the Philippines is the mobile app rankings in terms of active users. So as you can see from here, we are basically Facebook nation. Facebook is on the top as well as Messenger. We also see their Instagram, and very interestingly, a payment app called GCash. So given these top mobile apps being used by Filipinos, are you already present in these channels? Do you have a Facebook page? Do you talk to customers on Messenger? Do you have at least an Instagram account? And do you accept payments with a mobile e-wallet like GCash? So coming from GCash myself, I've read in the news that there are already 45 million Filipino users. It's really almost a fourth of the entire population. So it really means that your customers are also probably there already and using GCash to pay for their purchases. So next slide, please. Given all of these insights from We Are Social, at the end of the day, no matter how many touch points you choose to have, remember that the transaction process remains the same. It's fundamental, and if there's anything that you must ace or do very, very well in your business, it should be for these 3 key customer journey steps. So the 3 are, as you can see, the shopping experience, the payment experience, and lastly, the fulfillment or the delivery experience. Again, at the end of the day, no matter how many touch points you choose to have, always plot these 3 key customer journey steps into those channels. Are you able to reply or to provide these 3 steps seamlessly for your customers? So let's go through each one quickly, one by one. Our next speaker would actually be able to talk more about Shopify, which is a tool, no? It's a very good tool that I have personally used and also recommended to some clients who are starting their e-commerce journey, because Shopify is able to provide these 3 key customer journey steps seamlessly. It's very easy to use for merchants. And not just on the merchant side, if I may, I've also tried buying or shopping from websites that use this. And as a customer, it's also a seamless shopping, payment, and fulfillment experience for me. So that is more on the next segment. But for today, let's go a quick bird's eye overview of the three key processes first. So the shopping experience on going mobile first. Can your customers easily view, shop, browse, or book from their mobile phones? So this is important because I'm sure you have all experienced it sometimes when a merchant directs you to their website. And then when you click on the website, you see that the fonts do not align with the pictures, or parang nakapatong sila and ang gulo-gulo ng page from your cell phone. So that is one indicator that you are not mobile first, because right at landing on the website and the customer is scrolling from their phones, it wasn't a pleasant experience, no, being led to a website that is not mobile ready or friendly. In tools such as Shopify, there are settings that allow you to see the desktop version and the mobile version of your pages, and making sure that both of these settings are properly aligned will give a good and smooth experience for your customers. But more than just the orientation on being mobile first, no, the shopping experience is also being able to provide your customers with a very seamless experience when browsing, or as Jonathan mentioned earlier, our customers research, no, and try to read through the details. So some social sellers I've seen would have very good pictures of the products, and it's not just the products themselves. Sometimes there would also be pictures of how the product is actually worn, or how the product is actually used in context to other, yung mga flat lay photos, for example, when it is beside other complementary products. So that these things are all part of the shopping experience. It may be good for you now to see how are you investing on making sure that the shopping experience for your brand and for your products are happening for your customers, no? Now, the second step that we have here is for payment. So payment is usually the transaction part, no, where a seller and a customer agree on a price and then transact the payment, and you are now able to go through the next step of fulfillment, which is you delivering the product or the service. So when we say mobile first, the payment experience that you must be answering is if your customers can easily pay and then also share proof of payment from their mobile phones. So again, when we say mobile first, we always think that the customer is doing all of these steps from their cell phone. So first, what are the different options, payment options that you're currently offering for your customers? As a personal shopper, no, on social selling sites, from my experience, I'd see also that typically we would have pa rin cash or cash on delivery. I think this will not go away. There will still be a segment, no, that will still want this. But the good thing is more and more people, as in more and more talaga, are now switching to e-wallets like GCash. So GCash is a good mobile-first experience when shopping online because it's just a matter of switching apps. And usually, I would personally recommend, please, that you use the QR function. So I understand some sellers wouldn't have a business QR, so they use their personal GCash accounts and share their mobile number, no, to the customers. This is okay, but personally, I'd still really push for sending a QR version of your account to minimize any mistakes, no? The reason is because when we give the mobile numbers or ask the customer to type bank account numbers, cell phone numbers, there's always that risk of making a mistake. And at the end of the day, this is troubleshooting na, or not a pleasant experience for the customer and for you also as a merchant. So things like QR codes, which I see for GCash and also for BPI, mobile banking, is one good way of facilitating a mobile first and a better payment experience. Of course, there are also websites that offer debit card or credit card payment options, which is still good. But again, there's that extra step of having to input customer details, and mistakes can happen. So making sure that the payment experience happening on the mobile phones of customers is going seamless is one good way to make sure that the overall customer journey is doing well. The next step under payment is sharing a proof of payment. Now it is acceptable already to ask for a proof of payment from customers. And typically, this is having a screenshot, asking for a screenshot, no, of the GCash transaction or the bank mobile banking transaction. And this proof of payment is also what would signal the end of the payment experience. And once confirmed, your reps or your salespeople must be able to quickly check if indeed you've received the payment and acknowledge that you have received the payment with the customer so that you can trigger the next step, which is fulfillment. So what do we mean by when we say fulfillment? So fulfillment is the experience starts soon as you acknowledge that the payment is received. This is now on you, the obligation to deliver the product or the service that you agreed upon. Under fulfillment, mostly you'd have maybe a tracking number if you have a courier partner where a customer can simply input a tracking number from your courier's website and see the status. No? So is it being packed? Is it already shipped and on the way to you? And another nice thing about having fulfillment status updates is if the customers can choose to be alerted on SMS or even on email. So again, still mobile first experience because we are assuming that customers are gonna be always on their phones when dealing or purchasing from you. Me personally, I love it when I get trackers or status updates because sometimes you go out and you can't predict when your package will arrive and no one might be at home to receive it. So these are very handy and very useful things for your customers to have or to see. Now, if we go to the next slide, please, I would be sharing some service-oriented and product-oriented businesses that have used the omnichannel mobile-first scenarios that we've discussed earlier. So let's go to the left side first. No, we have a service-oriented business. So it's a tattoo shop and how they use the omni-channel mobile-first rule. So for our entrepreneurs out there, it's good to see if if you're able to relate more to a service-oriented business or a product-related business. But let's go to the tattoo shop first. So of course, omni-channel because they have a physical shop for doing the actual tattoo service. It has a website. So the website is where the tattoo artist showcases her portfolio and then some credentials or certifications, no? If she studied abroad for it or if there are other specializations that she does for her service. The website can also be a booking channel where an interested customer can check the calendar schedules or slots available for the artist and book a schedule right then and there. Complementing the physical shop and the website is also a set of social media pages. So this can be a Facebook page and an Instagram page where the artist showcases her portfolio pa rin. So pictures of, say, actual client tattoos, reposting those clients' tattoos, and in a way also advertising and testimonials. So some sponsored posts here and there for the tattoo shop or service. And then there's also direct messages and Viber. So Viber was quite a revelation for me. No? During the pandemic, Viber all of a sudden became a bulletin board, a national bulletin board for a lot of brands and products. Pre-pandemic, I noticed that Viber is more of a chat service that we do for work, or we have a family group chat or a friends barkada group chat. But during the pandemic, Viber just really became a business tool for a lot of businesses. I noticed that our condo community, for example, and also some village communities and even brands like Rustans, etc., started launching their own Viber communities, and it became like a daily bulletin board of store opening hours or what's happening, any promotions. And it became now more than just a chat for personal use, a chat for business use as well. So for Viber, this can be where you directly coordinate with your customer for scheduling. In the case of our tattoo shop, coordinating schedules, sending screenshots of proof of payment, sometimes also aftercare or customer support if they have questions or any concerns. No? So we see here a service-oriented business practicing the omni-channel mobile-first principles that we were able to establish in this scenario. When we go to the right side, this is now product-oriented. So let's take, for example, imported fruits reselling. And we see that they're also omni-channel. No? They do not really have a physical shop, so everything happens from a person's house, but they do have a website where shopping and checkout can happen seamlessly for the customer. But at the same time, they also have social media pages where they advertise or do sponsored posts and also post some customer testimonies, now if they're happy with the fruits and they gave it away as gifts, etc. And then here comes Viber again. So Viber in terms of coordinating shopping and checkout or delivery coordination, and sometimes a bulletin for new fresh arrivals and some advertising as well. So how does the Viber advertising part work? Interestingly, you don't always need to pay for any advertising. For me personally, as a business owner, it was such a revelation for me when I saw and experienced my senior citizen mother-in-law very much into the Viber groups with her fellow senior citizens, no? And I was chatting with her, and that's when I realized, oh, Viber pala is their preferred channel for chatting, and they can talk all day, no, on Viber. They share all sorts of information, pass all sorts of pictures all over Viber. And if you are targeting, no, specific communities, for example, this is a great way, I think, to leverage on your happy customers, asking them to share to their families and friends. Have something shareable on Viber, maybe a nice artwork that they can easily forward with good text leading to your page, social media pages or your website. And this is like a free type of advertising or word of mouth that is a digital version on Viber. So again, on the right side, the product-oriented business for imported fruits, they're also practicing omni-channel mobile first in this scenario. So can we go to the next slide, please? It's good if you could also share your experiences. In fact, we have a poll here. You personally, guys, have you recently purchased from a social seller? And what was their shopping, payment, or fulfillment process? Again, we're zooming in on these three key steps because this is the actual transaction. And then maybe we can share some best practices, no, or what you liked or what you personally would want to experience yourself. I listed three. So A, B, and C, and I will quickly share an anecdote for each one. So recently, I personally have purchased from three different social sellers. For letter A, I bought some jewelry online, and it was from a website. And I know from my experience that the website was powered by Shopify because I was familiar with the layout and the shopping experience. No? So the website was very informative. There were beautiful pictures of the jewelry and details. All of the frequently asked questions, the questions that I had in mind, were already addressed in the description part. And this is one big tip that I would also offer you if you have a website. Try to put in as much information, especially the frequently asked questions of your customers, already into your product description. So after browsing and scrolling from my cell phone, I picked what I liked, checked out, paid via PayPal, and signed up for an SMS parcel tracking. As we can see here, the shopping, the payment, and the fulfillment process was all done friendly in my cell phone, and I didn't have to switch any screen. So everything was done on the website. Wala na akong lipat na ginawa. It was seamless, and I personally liked it. But there are also some social sellers who fall under letter B. Okay, so for letter B naman, this is an interesting experience. So I bought a cake from a home baker, and she only had an Instagram account for her cakes. No? So I saw a cake that I liked. I DM'd, direct messaged the Instagram page to inquire about the cake. Someone was very helpful already to answer all of my questions and concerns. We agreed on me paying via GCash. I did, so I switched screen to my GCash app, took a screenshot, sent it back on the Instagram DM, and then she told me the date of when I can start booking Grab Express for picking up the cake at her house. So again, here, we see that the shopping, the payment, and the fulfillment experience all happened still on my mobile phone, but I had to switch to some screens. So in this scenario, I had to switch to my GCash app for the payment, and then also switch to my Grab app to book and track the delivery of my cake. And then there's the third scenario that I experienced also recently from a social seller. So this time, I was buying some K-pop BTS merchandise. And from the seller experience, we chatted also from a Facebook page. So we went to Messenger to chat. And she sent me a Google form. So I see this also a lot. Google Forms being sent, I guess, from a seller perspective, it's their way to organize, to organize their list of orders and make sure that it is on an Excel sheet. So I filled in the Google form, and on the Google form also, I was able to upload my GCash screenshot as proof of payment, and then afterwards receive an LBC tracking number from the seller. So in this scenario, it may be convenient for the seller to have the Google form, for example. But personally, from a customer point of view, sometimes it's not always their preference. Having to switch from one app to another can be a hassle for some customers, especially if they're not as techy or adept to using Google Forms, for example. So as Jonathan mentioned, it really also pays to know your customers so that you would also have an idea of their preferences. In my case, I didn't mind because I was familiar, but having to go through a Google form and collecting all of these information, you also have the responsibility as a seller to declare why you are collecting such information. So again, we have the Data Privacy Act, so be mindful of that also. We cannot just collect information without the consent of our customers. So if you're collecting emails or mobile numbers, for example, make sure to declare why. So is it because you need to coordinate with them for shipping or for tracking? Or is it because you want to send them promotions eventually or discounts when they have new items or new releases? So these three experiences that I detailed are typically what I see right now as the three key customer journey steps for most of the social sellers. I want to see from the comments if you are already experiencing the same three key steps in a customer journey, or if you are applying these for your businesses. It's just good to see. I want to see if there's like a prevailing journey out there for our entrepreneurs participating today. So next slide, please. Now, as we mentioned earlier, it's good, very, very good to be omni-channel, mobile first. But at the end of the day, you can also be overwhelmed. So if you're present in multiple channels or touch points, how do you make sure that you prioritize or you do not miss out on any of your channels? So this is where tools like an aggregator come in very useful or very handy. And there are tools like MyAlice that would allow you to link all of your accounts into one insightful dashboard. So this dashboard I love because you and your team can use it. And using it, of course, will give you so much more insights to your customers and your experience. No? So make sure that you are present in as much relevant channels and touch points without missing anything through an aggregator and organizer tools. So during the early days of e-commerce, every channel was manned separately. No? There wasn't something like this before. And some I hear are still doing it this way. I can just imagine, Viber messages all with red notifications or popping endlessly, But nowadays, it's good that there are aggregator tools that can help you manage your touch points and channels easily. Apart from aggregating, which is already a cool function by itself, the thing I love about tools like this is that it also helps you organize your data. So it's not just about aggregating, but also organizing the data. Everything can be ticketed so that you can easily go back to each one. And there are also other features like you being able to see the order history of your customers, the payment method that they used for that transaction. And for any salesman, we know this. These are very insightful and useful information because at the end of the day, this will allow us to upsell. So upsell meaning suggest a bigger size product or additional products for your customers. You can also use the data to cross-sell. So cross-sell meaning suggesting complementary products. So if they bought this, what is usually a tool or a partner product that goes with it, no? And then in the future, resell or encourage your customers to be repeat purchasers or repeat customers, no? So having tools like this allow you to be omni-channel, mobile first, of course, and at the same time, diligent about all of your inquiries and all of your orders. Any lead, any comment, any inquiry is an opportunity for a sale. So if you have tools like this, then you are really, really able to make sure that you close every opportunity and not miss out. So next slide, please. Having the tools is just really one step to making sure that you do not miss out on the omnichannel mobile first insight. But there are more tips that we have on how to make use of these tools and at the same time win with speed and win with personalization. So I cannot emphasize this any further, just like what Jonathan said. Winning with speed is all about customers loving quick replies for FAQs or frequently asked questions. So Jonathan touched on it really well with how to strike a balance between automated responses and personalized responses. And then customers also love quick acknowledgement of payment. As with anything money related, there must be speed, no? So if you are able to quickly see if a payment is received, it's already reflected in your bank account, you must also be able to quickly acknowledge it so that the customer knows that their money is safe, has been accepted, and that they're ready to accept your product or service. Customers also love timely updates on delivery. So as mentioned, delivery nowadays requires some coordination because not everyone might be at home when a parcel is expected to arrive. So these little updates are like extra levels of customer service. Another side of it is not just about speed, no, but also winning with personalization. Based on my experience from all of the industries that I've been to, no matter what industry it is or product or service, it's always very friendly, helpful tone that wins when it comes to talking to your customers. So make sure that you use a helpful or friendly tone that is aligned to your brand personality whenever you're talking to customers. Answer questions and encourage them to ask some more. So as Jonathan also mentioned earlier, it's not just about being quick to answer a question, yes or no, or whatever they asked for. Customers also need some conversation to happen. Sometimes they also don't know what to ask or what else they can ask. So striking a conversation and having that environment where they can freely ask, freely consult, is going to be a good step in engaging your customer and a higher chance for you to close a sale. We also saw data. We have data that the longer that you engage with a customer, the higher the chances of having that customer converted into a sale. Ask for feedback. So this one is also something that you can do on a personalization side. After the fulfillment process, usually the transaction stops already, but asking for feedback on how you can improve your product or service, or even the way you do business, is a golden insight from a customer because they themselves have experienced it. So do not be afraid to ask for feedback. And then, of course, ask for social media posts or permission to repost if your customers have already done so, because these are powerful testimonies or word of mouth advertising that you can use to help get more sales for your brand. So winning with speed and winning with personalization, go with helpful tools such as an insightful dashboard that aggregates and organizes your sales data. So next slide, please. So again, in the triangle that Jonathan has shared, the topmost part of the pyramid is all about building customer loyalty. And when you have an organized sales data, this can help you, as mentioned, work endlessly or creatively on how you can get more from it. So I'll be sharing 2 quick stories about how you can build customer loyalty from online social selling. The first one is for a client that I had who is in the optical business. And when they started doing online sales, they discovered that for contact lenses and contact lenses solutions, for example, the insight there is that these people would usually need fresh stocks or a refill after they have consumed it. So contact lenses and the solutions usually come with an expiry date information. And if you're able to work with rich information like this, then you can easily go back to customer Farah Rodriguez and say, hey, Farah, you might be out of your contact lens solutions already. Here's, say, for example, a 5% off voucher for you to purchase your next one. Or here's a freebie for you to try a new pair of colored contact lenses. If you're interested, we know that your last pair is gonna run out soon. So working with data like this allows you to connect with your customers and be thoughtful, because at the end of the day, they purchase this product for a need, and if you're able to reconnect with them this way, then it's really helpful, and it might even be a helpful reminder. For me personally, sometimes I do not track the expiry date of my contact lens solution, so having alerts like this are both thoughtful and helpful for customers as well. My second example is, again, for a birthday cake that I bought last year for my brother. So I bought it from a social seller just to try it out. And surprisingly, this year, it was, again, very thoughtful that they sent me a message. So on Instagram DM saying, hey, Farah, happy birthday to your brother. We saw from our records that you ordered a birthday cake for him last year. And then put it with a good or thoughtful promotion. If you'd like to order again, here's a 10% discount for you so you can enjoy the cake again with your family. And just like that, because of a thoughtful gesture, we had 2 cakes for my brother. So I've already ordered a different one, but because of that little thoughtful gesture, I thought it was worth giving this baker another try for an order. So again, this is possible if you're able to organize your sales data with a good aggregator organizing tool, so that you don't just close one transaction after the shopping payment and fulfillment experience. You're able to go back and get more from your customers and your data. All right, next slide, please. These two are going to be to wrap up my quick segment on aggregating customer touch points. And again, for social selling, I would love it if, first tip, you as business owners or entrepreneurs, try it yourself. It's always good to know how things are going as a customer, wearing a customer hat. So try it yourself and invest in good tools that you can use yourself. If you're planning to build a team or hire salespeople or customer support people who will eventually do it for you, still invest in something that you'd experience and try it out yourself first. And then on the next slide, also invest in training your sales team. At the end of the day, what we really want is that tools are great, but the talent that uses those tools are equally, if not more important. So the tool will not close the sale. At the end of the day, it's still your team, it's still the talent or the person. So make sure also to train your sales team. So next slide, please. It has... So there you go. Invest in training your team and to use and maximize the tools. And I'll repeat that now. At the end of the day, the tool itself will not close the sale. It's the talent. So please make sure to also invest in training your team on how to use and maximize tools like aggregators and organizers. So thank you so much for your time today. That was my last slide, and I'd be happy to take in some comments or some questions for today.
All right. Thank you so much, Farah. Actually, we have a really interesting question. We have a really,
Okay.
as a fellow army, I brightened up when you mentioned that we're buying BTS merch online. If anybody here in the audience is a K-pop fan, then we very much have experienced the online shopping, the
Right?
challenges of online shopping. But anyway, speaking of kind of, you talked quite a bit about omni-channel, and omni-channel is a word that we find is thrown about quite a bit. So there's a very interesting question from, I wasn't able to write down which of the channels it came from because we are on omni-channel.
Yes.
But the really question from one of the audience members, which is, how do I know that I am omni-channel versus just multi-channel? Because, if you have multiple I guess the understanding is if you have multiple platforms, does that automatically make you omni-channel? Or is it something else? So how do I know what's the difference between the two? I think that's a question that one of our audience members had for us today.
It's used very loosely, when you say multi-channel or omni-channel. But for me personally, so long as you have multiple touch points, multiple ways to reach your customers, I'd count you already as omni-channel or multi-channel. I don't want to be obsessed too much about the term or the technicality, because at the end of the day, it's really how you use your different channels. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it can be overwhelming when you have so many channels. So at the end of the day, how to aggregate and organize it is what will bring you the sale. It's not enough to just be present there, but you're silent naman, or there's nothing happening on that channel. Sayang. So it's still how you really make use of the different channels.
So if we're gonna take away from there, it's the idea of be on the channels where you can really add value and be active on. Like, that's what you invest in.
Yes.
So speaking of that though, you talked a bit about, because there are 3 customer journey steps. See, I took notes. I took notes, and one of them was I was very interested in the 3 customer journey steps: are shopping, payment, and fulfillment. And you said that in every channel we're present on, we should have all these 3 touch points. But what do we do? And this is another question from the audience. What do we do on channels wherein there are 1 or 2 that aren't possible? For example, I was thinking about when I saw that question come in, I was thinking about like channels where that might be a thing. In TikTok, for example, there's TikTok. TikTok Live. You can do the chatting part, but you can't necessarily shop directly or pay directly or fulfill directly. Correct. So what do we do with those kinds of channels? Because arguably they're still very valuable platforms. What do we do?
Yeah. Well, this is where the value of omni-channel comes in, because the practice we have right now is to lead customers to your other channel where it can be done, right? But as we know, a lot of business apps right now are very entrepreneurial, and they're looking for ways on how to make sure that everything happens on the same channel. WhatsApp, for example, just launched. So WhatsApp, as we know, is really a chat platform, but in other countries, they're already piloting payments within WhatsApp. And payments not just for cash, fiat money, but also for cryptocurrency. So we see how in the future, maybe now, give it 5, maybe to 10 years, all of these apps will also integrate the entire shopping, payment, and fulfillment process, just to make sure that the customer is engaged in their app, so they'd spend longer time on their apps and not need to transfer. Because sometimes it's on the transferring where you lose some customers.
I see, I see. So I think that's the challenge is that, I mean, before those apps start transitioning, how can we ensure we don't lose the customers yet?
Yes.
Kasi nga,
Mhm.
we're still in that section. So I guess that's the challenge we have right now. I think the last question, this is very specific, coming from the audience, was that regarding Viber communities. So there's a lot of interest in that. I personally am a member of quite a few, usually to do with food, which I think tells you my priorities in life. Food and K-pop. But there are so many, and I think that's a challenge people have. So people are asking two questions regarding Fiverr platforms. One is, how do we get people to join our community, given that there are so many others? And the second question was, how do we stay relevant as a community once people have joined? So how do we prevent them from hitting that mute or snooze button
Oh,
on
correct,
Viber?
correct. And personally, I've also muted a lot or exited
Yes.
a lot. No? So again, going omnichannel for the sake of omnichannel is not the reason why we're advocating it. No, at the end of the day, you must be able to put in engaging content for your customers. If the channel is not relevant for you, you shouldn't be there in the first place. Or if you cannot man it well enough, then you shouldn't be there in the first place. Viber can be helpful for you as an MSME, for example, if you have a network or a community that will value being on Viber. So, for example, condo communities where announcements, so it's acting like a bulletin board, I think is handy. I didn't exit that group. But if you're just going to be putting a Viber community and it's just posting the same stuff, for example, that's already in your Instagram, that's already in your Facebook, then it's kind of a redundant channel that may be a good to have. Because at the end of the day, there might be senior citizens, for example, who check their Viber a lot, but do not necessarily check Facebook or Instagram as often. So you're still hitting some of those customers, no. And don't be obsessed too much by the numbers. Also, again, for me, it's quality over quantity. You may have just a few people in your Viber community, but if these few people are really engaged, Sukis or people who forward your artworks, then I'd take that any day versus 1,000 silent Viber community members.
All right, fantastic. I think thank you so much. Thank you so much for kind of giving us these pointers on how to maximize customer touchpoints. I think that's extremely important. I personally have been like the victim of very silent touch points where I'm kind of expecting people to talk to me and then they lose the sale. So I think I hope you guys are able to gather a lot of insights. Again, if you have anything else you'd like to ask Fire, if you're shy right now or you want some time to process, you can message it to us and we'll find a way to get it to her after the event is over. For now, thank you so much, Fire. Again, thank you for sharing. That was extremely meaty. I have a lot of notes. And speaking of notes, I think it is high time we introduce our next speaker who knows quite a bit about note-taking, organization, planning, and the power of creativity. Award one of the outstanding ASEAN women entrepreneurs back in 2017, Darlene T. Lilo, is the mastermind behind the iconic Belle de Jour Power Planner and the 100,000 strong, yes, our analog nerds, there are more than a few of us, okay? People keep saying millennials don't care about paper and pen. They're lying. So 100,000 strong community of productive and passionate Filipinos who rally around the BDJ brand and Viviamo, which is BDJ's parent company, and now a major online retailer of stationery products. We haven't visited crazy about paper yet. Why haven't you? I'm buying out their stock already, so hurry up. Last year, Dara and her team launched the Philippines' first planning and journaling summit, which inspired Filipinos to move towards dreaming and planning in spite of the pandemic. She has made it one of her company's missions to inspire Filipinos to dream again as you create a better now after the pandemic. And she's, of course, somebody who is very, very active on the e-commerce space, selling an analog product, which is quite interesting because if you know paper people, we like to touch the paper. So how did she sell it online? We're going to find out a little bit more. Take it away, Dar.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm very happy to be here. So thank you, Frankie, for this introduction. And I'm excited to be able to share to everyone about my experiences in e commerce for the past 16 years. It's been a long time. I was sharing to the team, like I was doing e commerce even back in the day when you were doing multiply. So if you guys have been doing multiply, if you guys remember in the Philippines, please do check please do let me know in the chat box kung multiply time pa, nagbebenta na ba kayo? And we experience like different kinds of challenges from multiply. We moved for multiply. We also had the WooCommerce, and we now moved into Shopify. So I want to be able to share our story coming from a company for the past 16 years have been selling on ground plus online. What happened to us during the pandemic? So if there are also Bellas there watching us, please do say hi in the comment section, and I will do my best to be able to greet you. So just to introduce myself, or share about the company has been in the market for the past 16 years. And as shared by Frankie, we've been doing planners, paper planners, analog, and then we've been talking to over 100,000 women, Filipinos all over the Philippines and some all over in different parts of the world. And we do on ground events before the pandemic. We do different kinds of experiences, and of course now we've expanded to even doing a lot of online activations like the BDJ studio. So just to share to you guys, like these are our Shopify sites. So we've had Crazy About Paper. And then we also have the shop that I love BDJ. So it all started talaga with one planner. So the one planner is the BDJ Power Planner. If you're a Filipina, I hope you've heard of our planners. So we've been doing this, and our intention with the planner, with my intention when I started the BDJ planner, is really just to help Filipinas live life to the fullest. And after 1 2 years, I realized that that intention can actually expand to the other guys and other sects in the market. So essentially, we just wanted to make sure that there will be one planner for every Filipino, because as sabi nga kanina ni Jonathan and sinabi rin earlier ni Farah, is that there's really the sense of customization. And with planning, this is something we also have realized, that planning or journaling won't work if it doesn't match the train of logic or what you want to be able to accomplish or what is your intention. So after 16 years, and we are still standing today after 2 years or almost 2 years of the pandemic, we are still standing today. And I want to acknowledge that, because I want to acknowledge the team. I want to acknowledge everyone who has supported us up to this point. But the question is, what has allowed us to last this long, to be standing here today? And my answer is, it's the Belle de Jour community. So the BDJ community is something that we have started since 2008. We started in 2006, but we started doing events and community building activities as early as 2008. During the pandemic, what we've decided is, let's check in on the community, what's happening with them online. What happened? So since last year, since June, every Wednesday, and even tonight, I have a Facebook Live with our community members that is also across different platforms. Because more than ever, people are looking for connection. More than ever, people needs to be connected to the brands that they love because people need to be supported. So right now in the middle of the pandemic, that's really, I guess, the support that we need, and we want to be there for our customers. So I'll share a bit more of our experiences, and hopefully you guys have questions to me, for me later on, as we end. So the key to survival in business is really to constantly innovate and continue building a relationship with your customers. Do you know this is a fact, as my kids would say, fun fact, mom, 82% of businesses actually come from referrals. So 82% of businesses. So what allowed us to survive is because the BDJ, the Bellas, keep on endorsing us, referring us, and continually supporting us. So this is what have allowed us to survive. And that's why I always talk about this in any kind of digital marketing talk that I do, is that you need to be able to develop your community. So I hope to be able to share more insights on that. So what happened during the pandemic? During the pandemic, I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you can mention in the comment section if you've seen the meme early last year, like March 2020. There was like memes being shared all over the world or all over Facebook, all over social media, that the most useless thing that I bought for 2020 is a planner. Can you imagine? 'Di ba? That is the meme that is going around. And syempre, 'di ba? It hurt, right? We're selling planners, we're selling journals, and that hurt. And but instead of like just going back and then like maybe okay, let's cut down our projections, let's cut this down. What did we do? We looked at it. We looked at the insight. We tried to study it and then saw something. We learned something from our customers. And what we learned is that a lot of our customers or the people who were doing the memes, so they're not exactly our customers, the people who were doing the memes didn't exactly understand the value of journals and planners. Because in our mind, planning and journaling is essential for mental health. And this was validated in the past 2 years. It was validated. A lot of articles came out that during the pandemic, people started to look into journaling again. But it's not easy because I will share also more insights from our customers. But you see, 'di ba? Merong side of the equation wherein they're saying the most useless thing I bought. But there's this other side that also said that this is the one that saved my life. This is the one that helped me. So how do you bridge the gap? That is the challenge for our brand. So for any brand, whether you're in e-commerce or anything else, you need to be able to keep on talking to your customers. You need to be able to understand what they are going through. During this pandemic, what was the impact on them, on their lifestyle? So with that, last year, that was our story. Viviamo, it was pandemic. There are people, they said, I just want to refund on my 2020 planner and so on. There was a lockdown. 30-40% of our businesses were from on ground. There was that meme. But we got results last year. We got 2 million pesos worth in sales during our launch weekend. And during our peak season, we were able to recover or generate over 15 million worth of sales. And this allowed us to recover on ground bookstore sales. So the reason that this, what did we do to be successful last year and ongoing right now is we really did a lot of social listening. We did community surveys. We checked in on them. We have a Facebook groups. We do check-ins on them. And we listened to the sentiment of our customers. And part of the sentiment that we heard when we were listening and what we were learning from them is that I'm not so sure anymore with my life. The pandemic has thrown me off the loop. Is this still a time to plan? right? We have those questions from our customers. And those questions were the ones that we answered through an event, the You Got This PH. We started last year and continued on this year. And I think it was shared also by Farah that generally we looked at also our assets. Like we looked at our website in terms of speed test, optimization, mobile first, 'di ba? Since before the pandemic, we had e-commerce already. As I mentioned, we've been doing e-commerce in different formats starting as early as 2006, 2007. But right now, more than ever, I believe the number is 60 to 70% are using or purchasing things via mobile. So it's very challenging right now, especially here in the Philippines. You need to have um, a light website, magaan siya, so that people will be able to access your website and purchase your products. Reviewing your funnel is really understanding the digital customer journey. So what we did for 2020 and we continued doing this is that it's not just about the online that you the journey of the customer, but also on the back end, like cleaning up our back end processes so that we will be able to serve the customers. So these are the things that we need to do to be able to earn survival and thriving during and after the pandemic. So generally I show this slide whether it's a business talk or a personal development talk, because we also do a number of goal setting workshops for our community. You cannot hit a target if you're not aiming at it, so you have to set goals. In fact, there's a study that was done that it was a study done in Princeton wherein all the graduates was asked if you have set goals. So remember, Princeton is an Ivy League school. Everybody's there smart, everybody there is well connected. So only 4 out of the 100 or 4% actually wrote down goals right after graduation. 20 years later, they came back to the graduates. You know what happened? The 4 are richer versus the 96% who did not set their goals. 4 versus 96 collectively. So you cannot hit a target if you're not aiming at it. So it's very important to set goals. So in business, in your Shopify sites, in your e-commerce, you need to review what are your marketing goals, what are your digital marketing goals, and what are your objectives. So here are some examples. And I think earlier with Jonathan and Farah, they've mentioned some of these as well. That these can be your goals, right? Growing the brand, managing your online reputation, increasing reach or expand brand awareness, turning your customers to advocates, managing how customers talk about your brand, converting customers into advocates, driving leads and sales, like attracting a new audience, expanding your market, nurturing leads, converting interest into sales and closing the sales, improving customer retention, like building a community for loyalty and support, or reading brand salience, like how well a consumer remembers you at the moment of truth. And the moment of truth is when they actually decide whether they're participating in your category, meaning bibili ba ako ng planner or hindi. Then second is, bibilhin ko ba ang BDJ planner once I've decided to buy a planner. So these are examples of goals, and this is very important in the context of understanding your customers, because I believe no company can ever survive if they do not understand their customer and innovate alongside with their customers. So I wanted to share, since I told you one of the reasons that we've survived the pandemic and lasted this long is really the community. And in the past 2 years, this community building has grown like massively. You have seen how much Facebook groups have grown. Like we have groups that has 2 million that just started in the pandemic. All of these things, it's crazy. And the reason is just as simple as people nowadays are seeking connection. So it's in the middle of the pandemic, people can't go out, there's a lockdown, there's some sort of limitation. How else can I connect with other people? So, merong ito, mga tambay meets tech because Filipinos are finding ways to continue spending idle time together. So, some questions to ask, like sometimes companies would ask us, our clients would ask us, why do you need to build a community? Is it not enough that I have like return customers? Is it not enough that we just keep on targeting new, expanding? Well, these are four reasons for me that you need to build a community. Number one, customer feedback. Continuously, our products need to change because you saw with the presentation of Farah and Jonathan, we need to win in terms of speed. You cannot provide a product to the customers if you are not in touch with them. So the best product, the most relevant product will win in the market. Number two, if you have a community, brand loyalty is super important. Like 70% of our buyers are really customers who buy gifts. And that's why also in most companies or some companies they already ventured into affiliate marketing program. If you noticed in Lazada last year and Shopee, wala pa silang affiliate marketing. Now, if you can share links, you can actually earn money if you do those things. So, affiliate marketing program is still something that creates loyalty, gives your loyal customers a chance to earn, and at the same time brings you new customers. Then, user generated content. Um, when you have a community, you can have content that is generated authentically by the users of your product. And it creates organic content and buzz. And this is very important when you're selling products because people don't want to be sold to. But if they see how other customers are using the product, they actually get an idea like, oh, this is something I can use in this way. Or maybe a customer that shared that content, oh, I'm also a single mom, or I'm also like a working mom. That layout, the tool, I think that will be helpful in making my life better. So it's very important to create that interaction. Kasi again, 82% built on referrals. So imagine that, right? That's such a big number. So I'll share like some. This is a recent like message to us. So we did this post that who says all you write about in your planner about your plans and big dreams. What if you're anxious about something? Yes, go ahead. Free your mind and pour it all out in your focus journal. Strike it out after you write it down, or use a different colored pen to rewrite your worried sentence into an affirmation or a solution. Being honest about what doesn't work for you allows you to regain focus on transforming your life. So we had a customer who messaged us. Like, ito yung message niya. Any more posts on stuff like this? How do I write or on our journal about the not so happy thoughts? I'm going through really tough times and have problems processing or writing it down. So, these are the messages that you want to hear from your customers because they are asking you for help. They're asking you for support in terms of how is your product involved in their life and how can it make a difference. So, this is why actually for 2022, we noticed the trend. People felt lost. And one of the biggest opportunities, one of the rising categories is really life coaching. So, beyond just having paper planners, analog, 'di ba? It's also all about the whole experience. It's also all about what problem are we trying to solve as a company? Do we limit ourselves in just planners? And my answer is no. That's why we've been doing on ground events even way before. And now we are just leveling up, raising the game and putting it digitally, and now adding coaches in the planner. Dar, how is that possible? How can you put a coach in the planner? Well, even if we're an analog company, for the past 5 years, we've been doing different kinds of QR codes, and it's inside the BDJ Power Planner. And that is listening to our customers that right now, life planning, figuring out your stuff is not just one tool, it's multiple tools. So you need an analog, you need digital, because that is part of our day to day life. So before, we've shown different kinds of videos. You can scan it. We previously had augmented reality. This year, we've added when you use the code, you will be able to access like coaching program in an app. And you have access to these 12 wonderful coaches. If you also access with the QR code, this year we've introduced meditation virtual reality videos wherein you can travel all around the Philippines, and it's matched with meditation videos. So these are insights that we got from our customers, that we were able to expand from one existing product to offering different kinds of services. And that's why I want to emphasize that the opportunities come from these insights you get from your customers. So again, it starts with the community. So how do you build the community? How do you connect to your customers? So number one is authenticity. Authenticity is the key to growing your business. So 57% of consumers think that less than half of the brands create content that resonates as authentic. So is your brand like that? As mentioned earlier, how does your brand communicate in social media? How does it communicate in Messenger? How does it communicate in the different digital platforms? Number two, are you very clear with the value that you are giving to your customers or your target market? Create create the value, really provide value to your customers. Number three, be curious, ask questions. What is going on in their lives? Then you design your relevance to put it all together. So you have your natural community. Some people would say, Dar, how am I gonna do this? It's gonna be difficult. I don't know who my customers are, or I don't know, I don't have a venue right now to talk to them. Right now everything's digital. If you use Shopify, you have access to them. Any kind of platform, you have access to them. And this is very important that you keep on talking to them. Conversations, just as the theme of our whole webinar today, it's very important to talk to them. Talk to people who are emotionally involved in your category. So these for my category, it's the people who are just obsessed with planners, who love creative planning. And there are also people who are just like, I can't plan, if I lose my planner, I feel like I'm gonna lose myself. It's people who are like that. Those are our natural community. But of course, you don't want to be limited to them. That's why you want to keep on expanding and learning more about your potential customers and the potential opportunities. So this all boils together that in this day and age, a lot of people have trust issues. Let's admit it. We hate being sold to, right? In terms of ads or whatever. So it's very important that the trust is built. Trust can be built if your customers are able to connect to you on an emotional level. They need to understand your vision, your humanity, and your values. Everything, all of these will have to go together. So just take a quick review. I'm sure a lot of the business owners nowadays are present in varied digital channels. Like the question earlier, omni-channel, multi-channel. So it's really very it's very diverse. So you have to be very intentional in terms of your marketing channels. For us, we have our planners, our websites, and it goes down from a dynamic QR code to integrated branded stories, coupons, our marketplace, dedicated landing pages, and many more, up to messenger groups. Because we see the opportunity in technology and we want to be there where it's integrated with our product, and it's constantly checking in with our customers. Where are they, what are they doing right now, and what can we do to be there to support them. So omni-channel, earlier there was a question on this. What's important is actually, for me, is being deliberate on what channels you participate in, and second, what is the consistent message that you will keep on telling them so they will understand what your brand is about. It's not copying and pasting the same exact message in Viber, in WhatsApp, in Messenger, in social media. It's not that. It's the same theme, it's the same insight, but translated in different ways. So this is important because, as Farah said earlier, you might have different people who belong in your Viber community. You may have different people who belong in your email community. You may have different people in your Facebook community. So take a look at your customer journeys. So this is an e-commerce sales funnel. Like, you can like review visiting the store, viewing the product, starting the checkout, offering upsells, and completing the purchase. So this is very important to evaluate when you have an e-commerce store. Like, review your brand sentiment. I apologize for this. I am surprised that this happened, but let me do it there. So, are you being talked about? Are there positive comments in your social media feed, in your community? Are there negative comments? How about your reach or your awareness? You evaluate everything. So, but again, you lock it in based on where your customers are. So you don't just do everything because we don't have all the time in the world. And that's why I also agree with what Farah was saying a while ago, that automate where when you can. So in terms of brand engagement, like, you see what are the interactions, what are they resonating to, the clicks, the shares, open rates, how long have they visited in your website. Those are important information so that you can upsell, cross sell, and essentially close the deal, right? You can also do different conversion objectives, from sign ups, new members, purchases, and even evaluate return on advertising spend, or your ROAS. So look at your sales funnel. Those visiting the stores, those who viewing your product, starts at checkout. Because sometimes they might check out, but that's where we talk about abandoned carts. You can also offer upsells, and then you have people who can complete the purchase. So there's really a lot of technology that supports us. My company won't be standing here today without the technology that we started with. And so, despite being an analog product, we have been very active in technology because we believe in that future we're in. It's just like in our work from home setup right now, there's a hybrid. So there is gonna definitely be a hybrid of human interaction and technology interaction, from email marketing, customer service, consumer database, so your overall customer relationship management, your social media. You also have from your e-commerce websites, from Shopify, WooCommerce, and everything else. Social media, Google Analytics, you can access these things and research more about it so that you can get data. So I'll just wrap up. How do you unlock business opportunities? Understand your customers, connect with your community, be intentional in building trust, be intentional in growing your community, be intentional in your digital channels. Look at where your customers are and then review your customer journey. Then maximize technology whenever available, because we don't have all the time in the world, we don't have all the energy in the world, and definitely tools are here, technology is here to help us grow. So with that, thank you. And if you guys have questions, I'm here to stay. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Dar. All right. Just before anything else, I wanted to share that I am one of those people who definitely did not stop planning. this,
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
this is
Frank.
actually this is my quest journal. This is gonna be my fountain
Yeah.
pen journal for 2022. I have to put a new insert, and I bought a new insert just today because I have to refill it. But yes, the reason why I wanted to show that to everyone though is that, and this is the question we actually got. Planners are usually considered a once a year business, meaning people buy them at the beginning of the year or maybe the
Mhm.
last third of a year, right? How did you pivot a once a year business, in once a year purchase into a year round business? One of the questions that people are asking. What is the thought process that went into that? What business strategies did you use to kind of make a planner brand something was relevant all year round?
The answer is actually related to what I said earlier, the community.
Mm-hmm.
So this started like even in the earlier days. This question is asked to us like several times because like generally can this just be a project? How did I even decide to make this a full-time business of mine? I was like working. But what made me decide is because there were a lot of people clamoring for the product, even in the first year when we launched. And I realized I need to keep in touch with them because otherwise they will forget about me come fourth quarter of the following year. So strategically, you're right. It's just a once a year business. So how do you create revenue year round, right? And number two, more importantly than the revenue, how do you keep in touch so you'll be still top of mind by end fourth quarter? So with us, what we did was really a lot of engagement activities. We did a lot of meetup workshops when we did a lot of events when the time that events were not yet popular. So again, this is in 2008, like many years ago. We've evolved in different kinds of events. So from we even did like workshops on beauty. We did summits like over 1,000 people. We did a BDJ fair, over 3,000 people attending the event. We did intimate events wherein we do like um wellness workshops, overcoming a habit. We did it for 1 month. So we just kept on listening to our customers. We kept listening to our community, and we worked to match it up with the different brands that we are partnered with and offered a product or service or experience to our customers. And year round, that's what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm. I think another so it's just kind of touching back on that because you've had to invest a lot of time in fostering, nurturing, connecting with and maintaining community. So one of the questions I think that the audience actually threw that I took note of was very interesting, which was how do you make managing this community efficient, considering one, manpower, and two, work life balance needs. So the idea of preventing burnout, because from what it sounds like, you are investing a lot of time and a lot of
Yes.
energy every single day. How exactly do you do that in a way that's sustainable for a business, especially a business at scale? Like you're selling how many SKUs? I just checked crazy about paper today, and there's so many SKUs you have to sell. There's logistics needs you have to address. Essentially, how do you make it sustainable for a business to invest in community?
Activate your members, activate your community, activate your loyal customers. Again, I would not be here today if not for our loyal Bellas. They've been helping us manage the community. So we do like X deal arrangements. So it can be something like that because if you have like a lot of brand loyalists, you'd be surprised that they'll do the marketing for you. They'll do community engagement for you. They'll defend your brand. They'll protect your brand. They'll explain. They'll show examples. They'll do all of these things. But it's again, that can only happen if you have that authentic connection with them. And that's why it's very important that you understand that connection and you build that connection, you build the trust. And then that way, I guess you can have that domino effect so that the other times of the year when you're so busy, they're the ones helping us with either customer service, addressing concerns in our behalf. And it's not only unique to us. There's a lot of like I've learned it from parang bigger brands as well that have parang people, you know how fans club work, right?
Of course.
I mentioned with BTS. How fierce is BTS fans? How fierce are the army in defending and protecting and selling and promoting BTS stuff, right? So I guess that's how it works. And I think there's one concept like if you have 1,000 true fans, your business can survive. Like true fans will buy anything that you sell.
I think that's in connection to the last question we've gotten that I'm going to touch on. I could honestly interview you forever, but we are pressed for time. So one last question. Well, I could interview all of our guests forever, frankly, but I have to like control this to manage the time. But one of the last questions was that in particular was how do you identify those most rabid to use a not so diplomatic term the most rabid fan base, the 1% of your fan base that you can tap for this. That is something that the audience is actually like several questions were in that theme. So how did you go about identifying like these are the noisiest members? Was there like a software, a process, etc.?
That's where technology comes in so that you get that kind of data.
Mhm.
You observe all these data points. You see like how they message you, how they share, how they interact. You'd see the frequency if you have the right data tools technology that supports your business. And you'd be surprised that there are really a lot of available tools out there and can truly help your business. It really just you need to take the time to see which will work for your business and which can help you grow. But having that connection to your customers, you'll find out, you'll actually see it that, oh, this person keeps on buying. This person is like every quarter buys something from us. I know some Bellas, like, even if when I introduce a different business, so it's separate from Viviamo, was buying that stuff. Like I was surprised. Wow, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate it, but I'm super amazed. But if you pay attention and you have the right technology tools, and I don't think anyone has an excuse right now not to use technology,
It's
you
true.
will find out. You will see them. You'll see their names, even if you won't know their faces. So you'll recognize the names.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I hope that those who are watching take this to heart. It is really critical to tap into the power of communities, and that is actually why we're here. That's why we're inviting you guys to get conversational. So thank you so much, Dar.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate you giving us your time. And again, if you guys have any more questions, you can send it to us, and we will send them Dar's way after the presentation. So for now, we're gonna move on to our next phase or the final phase of this discussion. You've heard a lot about the importance of omni-channel, the importance of engaging the customer, and even heard a very in-depth case study about how important it is to identify and activate communities. But how exactly do we do this? It is an extremely overwhelming and somewhat daunting task, especially if you are a medium to small enterprise starting out. Well, this is where the technology tools that we're about to talk to you about come in. I'm very, very pleased to be welcoming to the floor today. Well, returning to the floor will be Patrick Cortero, the CEO of Skyrocket, and joining him in a conversation about conversational e-commerce is Shuvo Raman, the innovator and entrepreneur behind Alice Labs, which is the company that is behind My Alice. He is passionate about leveraging technology to solve human problems. The reason we are all here, genius, innovator, billionaire, entrepreneur. Wait, that's Tony Stark, but he might as well be Tony Stark. In our eyes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shuvo Raman and Mr. Patrick Cordero.
Thanks, Frankie. Thanks for the intro. You have been a powerhouse so far. I'm super pumped to be here. I really love the insights, tips, and tricks of Jonathan, Farah, and Darlene. The way Jonathan talked about buyer psychology and how, as a seller, we can capitalize that. Farah talked more about omnichannel approach to win as a seller, and Darlene talked about her community-driven growth journey, which is pretty enlightening for us as well. And thanks to Skyrocket for adding this webinar, which is super helpful for any store owner, I would say.
Super excited to be your partner here in the Philippines, Shuvo. So actually, that's perhaps first question for you. Why the Philippines, if you don't mind me asking? I know you guys are all over the place, but I know there is a focus in the Philippines. Why so?
Yeah, so in my alleys, we have been mostly focused in the APEC zone because we believe that the e-commerce growth in this area is more than anywhere else. But Philippines is a relatively untapped market by the regional players. This is a country with almost 74 million active internet users, the second largest in Southeast Asia. It also has the third highest number of people who shop for consumer goods online. What's more, practically all of these internet users are on social media. This makes it easy for sellers to reach out to this audience and promote their cross-border offerings on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Viber, and online marketplaces as well. These factors actually come together to paint an exciting future for e-commerce in the Philippines. A growing middle class, COVID-19, government support, interest in goods found abroad, all these things are accelerating the e-commerce adoption in Philippines. So far, I have seen as well. Now, as you all know, with opportunities comes complexities as well. As a lot of e-commerce businesses are growing, they're facing multiple challenges to uphold customer experience. Customer support is basically a make or break for the e-commerce companies. As people now have a lot of options, they normally stick with the e-commerce. I think Darlene would approve of this as well, that provide them actually exceptional service. And as far as I know, almost 88% of customers do not return after a bad shopping experience. And we are here in Philippines to change that.
Awesome, great. Actually, you know what? I know that we've been talking about My Alice, and it's on your shirt right now. We've been talking about My Alice this entire time. If I can ask directly from the founder, the horse's mouth, if you will, can you describe My Alice, let's say in one or two sentences, just to make it very simply put for those that are watching, still watching.
So it came from personal experience, and I personally saw how complicated e-commerce can get when you are going mostly. There are lots of softwares, there are lots of marketing techniques, sales channels, logistics, payments, everything involved. And we just wanted to make e-commerce easier for everyone. So when you are thinking about selling in multiple channels, like let's say Instagram, Messenger, your website, marketplaces, there is a gap between your sales channels and where your customers are living, because you are somewhat cases you are talking to your customers in all these channels and selling in different channels. So you don't know which customer is actually buying what product, their customer journey, their behavior, what they want or not. So first of all, we want to make this part easier by connecting all your sales channels like Instagram, Messenger, Viber, what we have talked previously, even your website, with your inventory or with where you are selling from. So we have the Shopify integrations, we have the WordPress WooCommerce integrations, we can do customized integration as well, which means you can now sell where you are talking. And where you're talking is basically mostly in the social media where you are doing the marketing as well. So from a sales point of view, you have all the tracks. It is easier for you. You can also automate a lot of things because, as Jonathan talked about as well, there are lots of queries coming in that might not need your complete attentions, and that part you can automate through MyAlice as well. And at the end of the day, which is very important for growing e-commerce, is to work on the data. So you can understand your customers, you can understand your sales channels, you can understand your agents, sales agents and support agents, how they are doing, and you can actually reiterate your service to become the best brand in where you are. So yeah, basically that's what MyAlice is about.
Great. That was there's definitely a lot more than two sentences, but definitely informative. So thank you. Maybe again, you guys are all over the region. There's you guys have a bunch of clients and customers, happy customers who are using MyAlice. Maybe just to share with the Philippines audience, would you mind sharing perhaps a real life case study of a small or a large brand that's really leveraging the power of MyAlice? Whatever you can share. I know that was a curveball of a question, but
talking about the happy customers, we do have a few in multiple countries, but we have recently worked with Ishiban Kuji. It's a Bandai sports brand, which is a division of Bandai Namco. It's a $7 billion gaming conglomerate. The company specializes in collectibles marketing and promotions, mostly, let's say, you have heard about Dragon Ball Z, Demon Slayer, Pokemon, all these actually are coming from this company. So with the ever-growing market and also from the impact of COVID in Singapore, Ishiban Kuji began changing the landscape of their business to reach a more wider range of clients because, as you can understand, during the COVID, lots of offline shops were turned off. So with the help of MyAlice, Ishiban Kuji has seen a massive change in their business. Their sales increased up to 55% with almost 1,000 new customers in 1 month. And they did it by opening up a new sales channel in WhatsApp. And the sales channels was completely automated. So whenever any customers, they have WhatsApp, they added Ishiban Kuji's WhatsApp number and they ask for a product, they can see all the new collections, they can see all the offers, they can engage in some sort of gaming, like getting a new code and checking if that code works to get some discounts. So people were a lot engaging with the WhatsApp channel because it's easy, first of all, and they're getting a lot of data, a lot of new sales, and a lot of new customers coming in. So within the first month, we saw almost 140,000 messages, new messages coming in from their WhatsApp channel. All of these changes actually increased their customer satisfaction level, which was previously 1.2%, and it became to almost 4% in fact, and bringing miserable and profitable change to the table for the business as well. So I think it was a very positive change for them to think about a complete new channel when we're talking about being omni-channel or multi-channel, opening up channels for people all over the world. So when we're doing this, we need to think about how we can scale things up as well. So with MyAllies, they could scale it up through automations and they could provide the best support when needed by integrating everything into one single place.
I was on mute. There you go. I did it again. So great. Thank you so much, Shuvo. Really appreciate it. I know we've been here for a while, so I do want to wrap this up. I just want to remind the audience that Shuvo, if you want to hear some more words of wisdom from Shuvo, I know he does have a YouTube channel now, right? Correct? You want to quickly talk about that and plug it before we turn it back over to Frankie?
So yeah. Actually, in MyAllies, we not only believe in sales, we mostly believe in educating our customers. So we see a changing wave of e-commerce going on where people are more focusing into conversations and conversational sales and trust as well. So I have a podcast, which is available in Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast, and also an YouTube channel where I mostly talk about how you can improve your customer experience and also e-commerce growth through conversational commerce. So I'll post the links below so that our audience can check it out and get the content that might be helpful for them as well. And I'm pretty excited to be in the Philippines market. I see a huge opportunity and an option for us to actually organize things for the store owners. So can't wait to start off.
I'm looking forward to some more events with you and the rest of the MyAllies team. So again, thank you so much. If anybody would like to learn more about MyAllies, please do reach out. So we do have a Skyrocket email address prepared. I think it's flashing down below right now. You can just shoot a message to myalice@skyrocket.ph. And with that said, let me just turn it back over to Frankie to wrap this up. Again, thank you to everybody, all of our speakers, to the MyAllies team, to the Skyrocket team, of course, for helping put this together. There are some people in the background right now that are kind of like making this happen. So again, thank you. Thanks to everybody that's watched, especially for those who've watched the entire time. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully you guys were able to get some real value out of this Skyrocket session. And with that said, there she is. Let's turn it back.
Wait! Before you go, we actually have a question from the audience for Shuvo, and specifically about MyAllies. So, and this is really interesting because this is from somebody who definitely was listening since the start of the session. So it was a question that particularly phrased this way. In the first talk of the session, we actually discussed the pitfalls of over automation when it came to engaging with customers. Can you share, therefore, how MyAllies challenges the traditional robotic nature of chat automation? Essentially, they're asking like, are you just a chatbot, or are you different? How do you enable e-commerce professionals to be more connective and connected, like more human? So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that before we close out.
Yep. So there's always a balance between automations and human touch, and we believe in that. So what MyAllies can do for you, it can understand whatever questions are actually mundane, whatever questions you can automate. Questions like, as I've told about, like something related to payment, if you can use card or not, if you can be deliver product to overseas or not. So these questions, your agents don't need to take care of all these questions every day. So these sort of questions can be automated. MyAllice's NLP can understand that and automate those questions. And whenever it comes to all sort of other questions, we have a dedicated ticketing system help desk available where all the queries from all the channels come in, and your agents can take over, your agents can handle those, and your agents can smoothly convert those into sales. And as a store owner, You can see how your agents are performing, how they're converting to into sales, and their conversion rate or the time they're taking to resolve those queries as well. So more power to you, all these store owners.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Shivo, and thank you so much, Pat. If you guys want to try out my Alice for yourself, you can check out skyrocket.ph, where we have our Skyrocket Interactive Messenger, which is powered by my Alice. You'll see actually that it's very human. What I love about this is versus any other chatbot that I've personally tried, because I've experimented with like messenger chatbots. This actually sounds like a person. And thank you so much, Shivo, for sharing a little bit more about how we actually also create that seamless connection between the chatbot and the actual chat agent. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much to the both of you. You guys have been powerhouses. All of our speakers have been truly. And I hope that you guys have taken away a lot of information from the presentation.
We have.
Yes. Well, to close everyone else, I'll let Shivo, Pat, I'll let you guys chill in the green room, in our literal green room. As I wrap things up and I close things out, everyone, thank you guys so much for attending our first ever Skyrocket session. It has been truly a blast learning this entire afternoon, especially so close to the holiday season. It has also been a great opportunity to pause, reflect, and take notes. I hope you guys have taken a lot of notes. If you do have notes, make sure to post them with the hashtag #GetConversational. We'd love to read your insights after this particular webinar. And of course, please stay tuned and follow us on our Facebook page, because we'll have more for you. In fact, a bunch of us are already planning the next session already. And if you have ideas for what topics you want us to cover next, message us. We would love to hear from you. Finally, if you guys would like to try out my Alice for yourself, there are QR codes on the screen. If you want to find out more about my Alice or Skyrocket, and if you'd like one of these fancy, cool events for yourself, then you can scan the QR codes on the screen. And of course, if you rate our session, we'll show you what my Alice can do. So make sure to rate our session and get to the fun, free stuff that we are going to give you guys if you do. Finally, from everybody here at Skyrocket and my Alice who's been part of this, thank you guys so much for attending. We hope that these insights will help you guys grow and maximize your e-commerce industries in 2022. We are excited to see what you guys can do. Thank you guys so much from all of us, and good afternoon. Bye. Happy Wednesday.